Your attention, please. If you'd all be seated, we're going to go ahead and get started in about 30 seconds. Thank you. Mrs. Gully, are you ready? The time is now 6:35 p.m. This meeting has been duly posted, and we have a quorum. Good evening, and welcome to the monthly board meeting of the Dallas Independent School District Board of Trustees. Please stand and join us for a moment of silence and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and a salute to the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Trustees present on your left and my right are Trustee Joyce Foreman, Trustee Ben Mackey, Trustee Edwin Flores, Trustee Carla Garcia, Trustee Miguel Solis, Trustee Maxie Johnson, Trustee Dustin Marshall. Our board president, Justin Henry, has just joined us, and we are also joined by our superintendent of schools, Dr. Michael Hinojosa, and my name is Dan Mitchkay. Would you do the honors, Trustee Flores?
Si hay alguien que necesita los servicios de un intérprete, aquí el joven les puede ayudar con el equipo. Gracias.
At this time, I would like to recognize any elected or public officials in the audience. Does anybody, does it not appear that we have any? Okay. Who do we have? I'm sorry? Oh, former trustee Nuttall. Thank you. And we have a representative from Senator Bob Hall's office here as well. Okay. Right there.
Trustees, in honor of Black History Month, we have two special performances tonight. I think we had the honor of seeing Carter perform at the Foley and Lauderdale MLK Oratory Competition. We've invited them to begin our meeting this evening. So Ms. Proctor, would you please introduce our guests?
Thank you, President Henry. Good evening. The board is honored to welcome the David W. Carter High School Choir. The choir will perform Lift Every Voice and Sing under the direction of Demetrius Ethley.
Actually, Lift Every Voice would be a solo, just a one line by our senior Chastity Webb, and the choir will end with We Shall Overcome.
Lift every voice and sing till light in heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rise
That was Chastity Webb, accompanied by John Tatum.
Live in peace someday.
you, David W. Carter High School Choir for this beautiful performance. The board is honored to recognize Colin Harris, a fifth grade student at J.P. Stark's Math, Science, and Technology Vanguard, and this year's Foley and Martinier's Martin Luther King Jr. Oratory Competition winner. Students wrote their own speeches and delivered them based on their answer to the question, what would Dr. King's vision be for America in 2020? This event is designed to recognize and encourage the writing and oratory skills of elementary school students. It is a celebration of cultural diversity and an opportunity to spotlight talented students as they learn about Dr. King. Colin will now share his winning speech with us.
Good evening. My name is Colin Harris, and I am from J.P. Stark's Math, Science, and Technology Vanguard. I am here to tell you what Dr. King's vision would be for America in 2020. Dr. King's vision for society would have been for us to move forward and allow people to live their lives despite their racial backgrounds. His vision would be for us to strive to truly become the greatest nation on the face of this planet. In order to meet that vision, we would have to listen to one another, have compassion for each other, accept each other, and coexist with each other in love. Most Americans have been taught about Dr. King, know about his famous I Have a Dream speech, or have celebrated Martin Luther King Jr. Day to honor his legacy. What a better way to honor his legacy than to commit ourselves to his vision of non-violence. Violence isn't the solution to anything. Violence only breeds more violence. I don't know about you, but I've had enough of that. Despite getting arrested 29 times, Dr. King never acted violently towards his oppressors. When he was attacked, he continued to march. He continued to kneel. He continued to pray. He continued to be a voice for the less fortunate, the underserved, the oppressed, those treated unfairly by the laws of this land. Dr. King's vision would be for us to continue to carry the torch for freedom, light the path to equality, and shed a light on freedom. He would remind us that the only way evil exists is for good men to remain silent. Aren't you tired of being silent? Aren't you tired of the way things are going in this country? Aren't you tired? Aren't you tired? If so, do something. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, keep moving forward. Dr. King's vision would be to see us come together as the people came together back during his time for a national march for freedom and justice. The march would focus on the economically disenfranchised people, those cast aside by society, those without hope. It would be a march where blacks, whites, browns would stand shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand, and demand laws to be made that lift people up and not tear them down. Give them voices and not make them victims. Dr. King would visualize a world where love would be the norm of the day, where people would stop and lend a helping hand to someone in need, where people would stop being in such a rush that they don't even take time to smile at another one of God's creations, where people would just stop, take a minute to see the possibility of every person in which you come in contact. That would be awesome. Dr. King would envision a world where all men are truly free, free from violence, free from hatred, free from injustice, free from inequality, free, free, free. Thank you.
Colin, please remain standing. Colin? Superintendent Hinojosa, Trustee Henry, please come forward to join Colin for a photo. Congratulations, Colin. This concludes our recognitions.
Now we're going to move on to Section 3, Superintendent's Report. Superintendent Osa.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. 3 quick items to report upon. I want to thank our staff who put together the State of the District that occurred last week. We had an opportunity to update about 900 people and many others through the media about where the district is in the transformation process, and we want to thank Linebarger and attorneys for help underwriting the event. Second of all, we also want to congratulate several schools and groups that have been given new opportunities through our Public School Choice 6.0. The West Dallas STEM School with SMU and Toyota has been approved officially. The Midtown STEAM School with the North Dallas Chamber and Texas A&M Commerce has been approved officially. And then we have several innovation schools, including North Dallas High School, Hill Middle School, and Bowie Elementary School that have gotten additional funds to pilot their innovations on their local campuses. And finally, we were very honored yesterday to have a visit from HEB. HEB recognizes the outstanding school districts in the state. They have a small school division and a large school division, and Dallas is in the finals for the School District of the Year. And so a team of judges from HEB came in, visited our schools, and talked to many of our stakeholders. So I want to congratulate the students, the staff, and the board for these due recognitions, and that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Hinojosa. We're going to continue on the Board of Trustee Committee report, starting with Trustee Foreman. Yes, Trustee Mackey.
Committee reports. So the Procurement Ad Hoc Committee met this month. We've been meeting for 3 months to provide feedback on procurement policies, which we're excited to bring to the board for a robust discussion tonight.
Are there any other committee reports?
Yes.
Trustee Flores.
So we had an audit committee met to discuss the E-rate audit. We discussed, beginning the audit plan and received the financial update from the administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Flores. Now we're going to go to trustee reports, starting with, are you ready, Trustee Foreman? Go ahead, Trustee Foreman.
Okay. So congratulations to Ronald E. McNair Elementary students who were in competition and winners of this year's STEAM Expo Science and Engineering Fair. McNair students in grades 3, 4, and 5 placed or received honorable mentions for their projects. Also, the Silver Knights robotics team at Daniel Webster Elementary won the first Core Values Award for their entry into the robotics competition. One big, huge shout out to Kimball High School's Destiny Miles, who made history Saturday by becoming the first Dallas ISD wrestler, boys or girls, to win back-to-back state championships. You go, Destiny. Last year, Destiny won the Class 5A 148-pound weight class as just the third Dallas ISD girl to win an individual state championship in wrestling. And Saturday, she won the 165-pound class, pinning all 4 of her opponents at state. She was named the Class 5A Wrestler of the Year. I don't want to meet Destiny. And while we're talking about sports, congratulations to Carter High School and Kimball's men's basketball teams who have both advanced to round 2 in the UILs. Go CC and go Kimball Knights. I also want to congratulate the students who participated in the Common Sense program to raise and donate funds for nonprofits that serve our community. Thanks to the District 6 students at Bertie Alexander, T.G. Terry, R.L. Thornton Elementary Schools, and a shout out to all the students across the district who participated in this worthy program and altogether raised more than $50,000 for nonprofits. You are all outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Foreman. Trustee Mackey.
All right. Congratulations to Adamson and Sunset High Schools and Henderson, Lanier, and Celestino Soto Elementary Schools for raising more than $10,000 for local nonprofit organizations. And a shout out to all the campuses who participated in this initiative, raising more than $50,000 collectively. Way to go. Kudos to John Reagan Elementary students for participating with their community in the 5K Dash for the Beads run last week. And I'd also like to recognize 4 Sunset High School athletes who signed college scholarships this fall. Natalie Ramos, Alexandria Ibarra, Aaron Ledesma, and Elizabeth Muniz. Congratulations on this great achievement and to all district athletes who have put in endless hours to make their dreams a reality. And finally, I'd like to give a congratulations to the 5 neighborhood schools in District 7 that were awarded these Innovation and Choice Grants. L.K. Hall Elementary School, James Hogg Elementary School, John F. Peeler Elementary School, Raul Quintanilla Middle School, and James Bowie Elementary School. I know that's a ton of work and a ton of time that teachers and staff and families put into that, and congratulations on that. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Mackey. Trustee Flores.
Thank you, President Henry. I would like to invite the District 1 community to join the staff on Tuesday, March 10th at Francisco Pancho Medrano Middle School to provide feedback on the new Thomas Jefferson High School. Unfortunately, I'm going to be out of town for business on that day, but we very much look forward and need your input as we work to restore and rebuild the schools in our community. And, I hope many of you will be able to join us or join the administration for that. Speaking of Thomas Jefferson High School, I'd like to thank the TJ Patriots who participated in the Common Sense Pennies for the Heart Program and raised $450 in pennies for the nonprofit Outlast Youth. Seeing these students giving back to the community after they've recently been on the receiving end as a result of the tornadoes is a true example of leadership, compassion, and empathy, and I commend them for their act of kindness. And I also want to join Trustee Mackey in highlighting and welcoming the hard work of the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce and their partners to make sure that we're going to have an innovation school in the northern part of Dallas in the Mid-Park development. So thank you very much for that. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Flores. Trustee Mitchke.
Yes, I'd like to recognize the students at Bales Elementary and Robert T. Hill Middle School who also participated in the Common Sense campaign this year. The schools raised money for several worthy causes in the community: the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, the Refugee and Immigrant Center for Education and Legal Services, the Texas Women's Foundation, and the National Ovarian Cancer Coalition. Also, I'd like to congratulate social marketing teacher Leslie Griffin from Bryan Adams High School, who won the Outstanding New Advisor Award at the DECA state competition recently. The DECA organization prepares high school students for leadership and entrepreneurial positions in marketing, finance, hospitality, and management. In addition to her role as DECA co-advisor, Leslie Griffin also manages the Cougar Den, BA's student-run store that sells snacks, lunches, and spiritware. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Ms. Kay. Trustee Garcia.
Good evening, everyone. There are great news that come out of DISD every day, but the one that really made my heart swell recently was there were only 26 schools in the state of Texas that were nominated for the 2020 National Blue Ribbon Award, and one of them is Edward Teich Elementary. And if you know anything about Edward Teich, it was facing closure in 2017 if it didn't meet state standards. And what has happened at Edward Teich is just one of the proudest accomplishments, I think, of DISD in the heart of Pleasant Grove. So it makes me so immensely proud as a former Teich Tiger myself to see just what can happen in schools when we invest in every single student and provide the leadership that they need. I remember when I was a student at Ina Rangel and we received that same nomination and just how excited, and our teachers came out of the classroom and they were, crying and excited and happy, and I can't imagine having seen that same celebration at Edward Teich. So kudos to Mr. Stova and everything that he's done with his team at Edward Teich. I also want to recognize Dorsey Elementary for hosting a library dedication in honor of the late Mr. Romina Muloy Bosio, whose name I hope I didn't just butcher, who was a valued employee of the law firm Baker Botton, a dedicated volunteer at Dorsey Elementary. Her efforts are what started the lasting partnership between the law firm and the school, so thank you for all of that effort. I also want to recognize District 4 seniors who completed the Promise Pledge, making them eligible for the Dallas County Promise Last Dollar Tuition Scholarship. Students must now meet the March 6th financial aid deadline, and I will tell you Dallas ISD is well on its way to surpass financial aid completion at this time compared to last year. I had the amazing opportunity to be a guest today at the School for the Talented and Gifted in Pleasant Grove. I know, Ms. Benningfield, you're here today, so thank you for being here today. I received a very warm welcome, was able to talk to students of the Pleasant Grove community and across the district, so huge star in the District 4 community and across the district. And lastly, and I tell this to President Henry all the time, that in my lifetime I've only had the opportunity to call 2 black men president. Trustee Henry, you are one of them, but Mr. Collins, if you're still in the room, you are well on your way, and I can't wait to tell people that you are a proud DISD graduate as well.
Thank you, Trustee Garcia. Trustee Solis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Kudos to Officer Walter Gunn from TJ Rusk Middle School for being named the district's inaugural Police Officer of the Month. I really want to appreciate Officer Gunn for the outstanding service that he has provided at our campus there and the care he provides for students every day. I also want to give a shout out to District 8 School Cesar Chavez Learning Center, the Montessori Academy at Onesimo Hernandez, the Innovation Design and Entrepreneurship Academy, and Ignacio Zaragoza Elementary School, who participated in this year's Common Sense fundraiser, which is a great way to teach our students about making an impact. And I also want to give a shout out to a student at the Innovation Design and Entrepreneurship Academy. He's a senior there. His name is Rafael Martinez. And I found out about Mr. Martinez's story at the beginning of this month, watching it on NBC5, having had seen a viral video about him, but not knowing his story. Rafael is a senior who plans to attend, if I'm not mistaken, Jackson State University. And he was just made the drum major of his marching band. And that may not sound like it's some big deal, but the thing you need to know about Rafael is that he has been made the head of the drum line with him having Stargardt's disease, which is a disease that's a form of macular degeneration of the eye. And so he's losing his sight every day as he grows older. Despite those challenges, he's been able to figure out how to be creative with his approach to drumming. And so he has been able to do this amazing goal, and my hope is that his story will continue to be shared, because I'm sure it will continue to provide inspiration to the many students who may be facing that issue and just all of us in general. So kudos, Mr. Martinez, and good luck this year and in your path to Jackson State University. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Solis. Trustee Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Kudos to Trinity Heights and Cedar Crest Elementary Schools for participating in the United Way Reading Day, presented by Ernest and Young LLP. Tomorrow, February 28, volunteers from Ernest and Young, Texas Instruments, and other community partners will join celebrity reading in encouraging more than 5,000 North Texas preschool and school-age scholars toward a lifelong love of reading and learning. The effort commemorates National Read Across America Day. Shout out to these District 5 schools that participated in the African American Read in held last week. John Ely Bryan, Harold Budd, C.F. Carr, Jan Irvin, H.I. Holland, William Brown Miller, Trinity Heights, and Wilmer Hutchins Elementary. Thank you to the young volunteers from District 5 schools who were involved in the Common Sense effort, which raised $50,000 for nonprofits. They were John Ely Bryan, W.W. Bushman, and Lorenzo de Zavala Elementary School, DESA, Oliver Wendell Holmes Middle School, and New Tech House at B.F. Durrell. You are all the best. I want to say thanks to Albert Black, Trey Black, and Ready to Work for making a huge difference in kids' life. I spoke to a lot of kids that's going through your program. I want to give a major kudos to what you're doing for black and brown kids in the southern sector. Definitely want your program to expand because you're definitely helping kids across Dallas. Trey's here. Thank you, Trey Black, for everything. Also, I want to give a special thanks to Coach Chris Williams. Saw you at the back. I worked with you at Bob Story. For all you do for our SPED kids. You are doing a phenomenal job. And I, along with the Board of Trustees, appreciate everything that you're doing every day for our kids. We appreciate you and we thank you. And finally, want to give a shout out to Trustee Solis. No, this is his last time, coming up on his last time being here as a trustee.
But early.
But he's done. I talked to my son today, and one of the things he wanted me to say is he appreciates you giving him books, mentoring him and talking to him, and everything that you did prior to me becoming the trustee. You have impacted the lives of kids at South Oak Cliff. We want to publicly say thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you, Trustee Johnson. Trustee Marshall.
I'll give the District 2 report. First, a big shout out to Mockingbird Elementary student Lily Kay, who made history by proposing a bill that granted all fifth graders free access to state parks across the state of Texas so that they can put into use what they learned in fourth grade, and the bill was signed into law by the governor. On January 30th, Benjamin Franklin International Exploratory Academy received a 4,000 book donation thanks to Comerica Bank and KPMG's Family for Literacy Dallas. I want to give a shout out and thank you to Michael Young, former Texas Rangers infielder, who also participated in the event by distributing the books to 400 eighth graders, which is particularly meaningful given that Franklin just welcomed 350 displaced Cary Middle School students after the October 20th tornado. So thanks to all of you for your generosity. On February 6th, I was really honored to participate in a memorial at Mockingbird Elementary School where the campus was beautified by some thoughtful community volunteers who planted trees that were planted there to commemorate former student Caden Gutierrez, who passed away. It was truly a touching experience. On February 7th, the Lakewood Elementary robotics team advanced to the regional championship. This is the first ever for Lakewood, so congrats to the Blackout Bats team. Also want to congratulate Henry W. Longfellow Career Exploration Academy, which was among 26 schools in Texas that were nominated for the 2020 National Blue Ribbon School Award. The U.S. Department of Education awards the Blue Ribbon recognition to schools where students perform at very high levels or where exemplary progress is being made towards closing achievement gaps. So it's quite an accomplishment. Also want to give a shout out to Coach Barber at Woodrow Wilson, who was named Outstanding Coach for District 7-5A Wrestling, and also to seniors James Medine, who was named Outstanding Boys Wrestler. Way to go. Want to congratulate a group of students from Ben Milam that brought home the Little Einstein Award at the first Lego League Junior Boomtown Build Challenge. So great job to Mr. Cassidy and the Mighty Tigers team. Congrats to William Lipscomb, which was selected by the Whole Kids Foundation to receive a $3,000 award to enhance their edible learning garden. Also want to congratulate Mockingbird Elementary, as many of my colleagues have, for participating in the Common Sense Fundraising Challenge, where they raised money for the Clayton Dabney Foundation for Kids with Cancer. I want to encourage you to mark your calendar for the Hillcrest High School ribbon cutting ceremony on March 28th to celebrate the school's renovation. It's scheduled for 10 a.m. Hope you can join me there. And I want to give a big shout out to North Dallas High School that under the Public School Choice 6.0 process was selected to pilot a design thinking model school prioritizing empathy and prototyping solutions to challenging questions we face in our society. If the pilot, if the pilot is successful, the school could fully implement this model in the future. Also last night, North Dallas High School kicked off their community feedback for their upcoming bond program, so I want to thank Scott Lane for participating in that. Very exciting work coming up at North Dallas. I also want to say that I'm proud of the 8th graders from Benjamin Franklin International Exploratory Academy and Henry Longfellow Career Exploration Academy who are committing to join a Dallas ISD Career Institute where they can develop and grow in-demand skills they need to secure a good wage job in the near future. And lastly, while he's walking away, I just want to ask Trustee Johnson who won the Woodrow and South Oak Cliff men's basketball game in the playoffs. Just checking. That was Woodrow. Congrats to Woodrow.
Go ahead, Trustee Johnson. You have the floor.
Good evening. My name is Marissa Williams. I'm Student Transition Coordinator with Ready to Work, and we are headquartered in South Madison Avenue in Trustee McGee's district. Our program supports students throughout the Dallas Independent School District, and before you today we have student representatives from South Oak Cliff High School as well as Wilmer Hutchin High School that would like, that's from Trustees Johnson's district, and they would like to share an opportunity to share their experiences with our pre-admission student services or PASS program and our Power Industrial Truck Certification Program. So please help me welcome Jonathan Cotton and Jadarius Lee. Sorry.
All right. Hello. Thank you for offering me the opportunity for becoming a certified forklift operator as well as a workplace safety. I was first introduced into the PASS program in Mr. Rogers' class prior to completing my certification. This program has helped me to improve my interviewing skills and participating in mock interviews. The program will also connect me in Bankers next week to learn more about checking accounts and creating my own personal budget. I am currently a senior at Wilmer Hutchins High School. I was able to take part in the Ready to Work program as a student taking classes in the CTE department at my school. Currently, I am working in the food service industries. However, after I graduate, I'm planning to take full advantage of my certification by applying with companies like Amazon, Target, and the new Medline warehouses opening nearby. Getting these certifications will allow me to earn $7 to $8 more than what I am earning in the food industry. And further on, to introduce into the certification, I have been able to open up many doors and should be able to open up many doors for many kids going into career prep or the certifications.
Good evening, DISD. My name is Jadarius Lee. I'm a South Oak Cliff P-Tech student, so I will be graduating with my high school diploma as well as my 2-year associate's degree in computer science. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to participate in the 2019-20 PIT PASS certification program. I'm not from Texas. I'm originally from Wisconsin, but my mom moved out here for a better job. Growing up, I always liked machines and how stuff was built, so I've always wanted to be an architecture or have something to deal with heavy machinery. So I guess you can say that's kind of what led me here. My granddad worked at a construction company, and so I used to watch him, and I thought it was kind of cool. So the PASS program was very helpful to me. Being able to see what I'm actually interested in and what career choices offers what I'm able to do and what I'm passionate about really helped me. But along the way, I was also able to help 2 students and fellow seniors get 2 jobs at the company I work for now, which is Home Depot. The PIT training worked so much for me. I guess you could say it was a blessing in disguise. Being employed at Home Depot and seeing that you have forklift drivers and other people that do stuff, I was already a front-end supervisor. So with the PIT training and the certification, it allowed me to get a promotion and raise post-graduation. So May 24th, I'll be the new Home Depot's Assistant Operations Manager. The PASS and PIT program certification was very beneficial for me, and not just for me, but other students as well. even after the program ended, I know there are a bunch of students who will more than gladly be able to benefit from this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Henry and our board for allowing them to speak tonight. Once again, this is Mr. Alec. He worked every day at in our schools. I met him, and Mr. Trey Black. They do a lot of wonderful work for our kids. And when I was visiting South Oak Cliff, I ran into this young, wonderful big guy right here. And he told me how their program really changed his life. And I went and visited and saw so many kids. And we talking about giving kids opportunity and stopping gun violence. But this is how you do it. You put things into their hand. You educate them. You give them a way out. And Trey Black, you're giving our kids a way out. And so I appreciate you. I appreciate this organization. Now, he said, Coach, they call me Coach because I used to coach over there. He said, Coach, I know about 30 more kids that this program could change their life like it's changing my life. So I want to see every kid that can get into this program and watch our industry partners change our kids' life. This is what it's about. This is what building futures through education look like. So thank you so much, Mr. Black. Thank you for your company and everything that you're doing for all our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and give the District 9 report, and we'll continue with the public speaking. So hard work and dedication have paid off for the Lady Raiders of Skyline High School, who took the top spot in last week's Texan Region 2 VX Robotics Championship. Judges awarded the team the Build Award based on the engineering and design of their robot. The team will represent the district at the VEX World Championship in Kentucky in April. The Skyline Raiders also deserve praise for being the top campus fundraiser in the 2020 Common Sense Philanthropy Program. Thanks to the awesome efforts of Skyline Homecoming Court and their sponsor, Katrina Phillips, the team raised $14,800 that they shared with 17 nonprofit organizations selected for addressing key community issues. Proud of the Raiders for your spirit of philanthropy. Reading will take center stage at J.P. Stark's Math, Science, and Technology Vanguard this Friday as United Way volunteers observe lead students in the United Way Reading Day by reading with Stark students. Schools from District 9 celebrated reading and literacy at last Saturday's African American Read-In. Thanks to the campus sponsors and students from W.A. Blair, Edna Rowe, J.P. Starks, and Urban Park Elementary Schools for attending that important Black History Month event. I also want to acknowledge the two schools in District 9 that have become schools of transformation and innovation. That's Thelma Richardson Elementary School, which became a school of personalized learning, and John Ireland Elementary School, which has become an expeditionary learning. I think that may be the first in the district. To ask somebody else, Dr. Lewis? Yes. I also want to congratulate the Lincoln High School boys and girls for continuing the playoffs. The boys will be in area competition, and the girls have reached regionals. And I also want to acknowledge the great James Madison boys team that won convincingly, and they'll continue in the playoffs. And that concludes the District 9 accolades. We are now going to move on to our public forum. Our agenda now calls for the public forum segment of our meeting. We'll begin with speakers to agenda items, followed by speakers to non-agenda items. Ms. Scully, will you please call out the names
Yes.
of the speakers?
I would like to remind speakers you will have 3 minutes to speak. When you arrive at the microphone, please state your name. Our first speaker is Gabriel Sanchez, followed by Janet Shuey.
Good evening, DISD. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Thank you. Good evening, DISD. I am here speaking tonight because, well, we simply need to do better. My name is Gabriel Sanchez, and I attend Booker T. Washington High School for the Performing and the Visual Arts. Now, unfortunately, we attend a school district in which the individual student has not the power to decide where their waste products will end up. Every time a student goes to throw away a piece of plastic or paper into the recycling bin, well, it's no longer a secret. They know that that trash will end up in a landfill. And I see the disappointment in their face, yet they do it time after time because that's hope. That's what you call hope. Now, logically, since we don't have the power to decide where our trash will end up, it that responsibility moves up to the chain of command, and it becomes the responsibility of the DISD elected officials. Now, DISD has, as wonderful as it is, has time after time proven that recycling is simply not on its list of priorities. Every piece of trash that leaves a DISD school to end up in a landfill is a betrayal to us, the students that care about our future, our children's future, and this beautiful land that we inherited. Now, I find it quite comical that in 2020, we are debating whether recycling is a good idea, because quite simply, we are neck deep. Thank you, ma'am. I'm here tonight because I'm speaking for change. Now, I hope that the board will take my humble words and make the choice that I suspect they know is the correct one. Thank you very much. Good night.
Janet Shuey, followed by Bill Betson. Janet Shuey.
Hello, I am Janet Shuey, a senior at the Townview Law Magnet. I believe that climate change is a generational justice issue, given that my generation and those to come will bear the greatest burden, although we are least responsible for its cause. The severity of the climate crisis calls for immediate action in all institutional levels, especially the educational sector. There is an undeniably growing momentum of youth from all walks of life joining the fight to protect the habitability of our planet. When my environmental club helped to organize climate strikes at both our school and at City Hall on December 6th, a multitude of students showed up to express the concern we all share about the lack of action in the communities that they call home, adding to the diminished faith that their school district would fulfill its own promises and mission statement on sustainability. Schools are really at the heart of communities, which is why my peers and I believe it is imperative that our school district acknowledges climate change as what it is, an emergency. Furthermore, teaching students to be good stewards of the earth we inherited should mean that those same sustainable practices are being applied in the buildings in which they are taught. But they're not. Tonight is a night to change that narrative. School board members are the only publicly elected officials who have a singular focus on the well-being and future success of children and future generations, and therefore have a significant role to play in building public will to act on climate change. We thank you for your foresight in taking the initiative to prioritize this issue. This is only just the beginning. Many groups such as the Sunrise Movement, 350 Dallas, Zero Hour Dallas, Sierra Club, Fridays for Future, and March for Science are collectively rallying around efficient and concrete strategies for advancing environmentally responsible policies. The Environmental and Climate Action Resolution represents a hopeful and inspiring step towards ensuring a healthy and livable planet, and is a strong precedent for other school districts and communities to take action on sustainable measures as well. Thank you.
Bill Betson, followed by Reverend Horace Bradshaw.
Howdy, I'm Bill Betson, and that was a great talk. And we do need to be creating every new building that we build needs to be LEED certified. The time for not doing that is past. And we have too many lessons our children can learn from the building they're going to school in. And that's why they should all be LEED certified. But I'm here to talk about three other related themes that all come together in this. And I want to mention them. Supplantation, the 2020 bond, and single spreadsheet transparency. That's a lot of jargon, so I'm giving you a link, dallasisd.us. If you go to dallasisd.us right now, you can see the words that won't fit in 30 minutes, plus the links to all the sources and all the related information that goes into this. But supplantation has not left us, and it may kill the 2020 bond if the public finds out enough about it, and if we don't step forward with the transparency that will be somewhat painful, but the public will embrace us. We simply need to admit what we've done wrong. We're already doing that very well with the Racial Equity Office. They are admitting the history of inequity in our district, and that is very brave and that is very good. But we need to admit the inequity that is happening right now as we're standing here at this meeting. Last night, I was at a 2020 bond meeting. Racial Equity Office was presenting at Spruce High School. They gave their slide presentation, a great slide presentation, and I applaud them for doing that. But while they were doing that, I went to the PEAMS financial report online that, by the way, all these links are at dallasisd.us if anybody gets lost. But basically, I went and I looked and I found out that Woodrow Wilson per student gets 8% more regular funds than the children at Spruce. So Wilson, with 52% poverty, gets more regular funds, 8% more, than Spruce with 92% poverty, 40 percentage points more. Here's the bottom kicker. I went and looked at the Texas Academic Progress Report, and I looked at the size of the classes. The classes at Spruce are 5.5% larger than the average class at Wilson. How can you sit there and justify a school with 40% higher poverty and they have larger classes by 5.5%? Something that's happening today, folks. We've got to get on top of that. Thank you.
Reverend Horace Bradshaw, followed by Jonathan Cartwright.
Good evening, Board. Reverend Horace Bradshaw, President of the South Oak Cliff Alumni Barricade. I want to thank the Board for the beautiful building that y'all gave us, 3601 Marsalis. We're extremely happy with that building. Moving in on January the 7th was a great day. Diamonds in the back, sun rooftop, digging in the scene of the gangster lean. Woo, woo. Yep, it's a Cadillac. But I have a problem. The motor is knocking and oil is running out the back pipes. Yes, it looked good. It's a wild effect on Marsalis. We appreciate that. But I was extremely disappointed. A couple of weeks ago, they told me that the sewer line is running all into the cafeteria. Bathrooms are being shut down because for some reason, pipes wasn't changed out. It don't make sense to me that you would put such a magnificent structure on old pipes. It's going to reveal itself. The new is going to reveal the old. And we had that conversation at Reverend Nolan's church, Paradise Baptist Church. And see, it's mind games that you play with us. And we got, Real just mentioned, transparency. We got to be able to trust you that your word means what it says. Your yeas are yeas and your noes are noes. You told us that you're going to change out pipes. Then we come back to you, in fact, because we found out the water pipes wasn't going to be changed out. Then you say to us, we didn't say which pipes. But when you say pipes, to me that means all pipes. And you changed out the water pipes, and we appreciate that. But you gave us clean water, but we got a stinking body. And so that needs to be addressed. I just wonder what the test would be when you find out the level of contamination that's in that cafeteria, the sinks, the dishwashers, the utensils, and what level would be acceptable even after they cleaned it for our children to be able to feel safe, and the staff. And then we got a leaking roof. All these things happen before we start the renovation. And so transparency, see, you try to cut corners, but the cutting the corners have revealed themselves. And we need you all to adjust this because we are the example for the district Thomas Jefferson, you need to be taking notes, because it says to me that when they put on paper what they're going to do, it might not mean what you think it means. Pipes don't mean all pipes. But you can't come to my house as a construction worker and tell me that you're going to change out my pipes, and then I have a bad sewer line. I feel like I've been played. I lost some credibility with my district simply because I sided with you all.
Thank you,
over
Reverend
my
Bradshaw.
I need y'all to make that right.
Jonathan Cartwright, followed by Andrew Nash.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Cartwright, and I go to Townview TAG, and as other speakers mentioned, we, the students, parents, and community members, are here to urge you to pass the Environment and Climate Action Resolution. Now, this resolution is only 2 pages and 507 words, but it speaks to something so much larger. We see a whole world between the lines of this document, one in which we take action to safeguard the living conditions for our children and our children's children. Currently, the climate crisis is weighing on students' minds. It's backwards to be learning about an environmental crisis at an institution that doesn't even have recycling bins. It's hard to watch truckloads of fresh and usually uneaten cafeteria food heading for a landfill. Now, I like riding the school bus to Townview, but the hot, polluted air that comes out of the exhaust pipe is just another contributor to asthma problems. But these problems can be mitigated through this resolution. Stepping off an electric bus onto an energy-efficient school campus is the dream of every student concerned with this crisis. In the next 5 years, Dallas ISD could easily have a garden at every school that also composts the leftover cafeteria food. This resolution is a start towards rebuilding our broken, wasteful system. By creating an environmental and climate committee comprised of board member appointees, students, parents, and community members and more, we can actually make the aforementioned dreams a reality. These aren't lofty goals that can be pushed back until they're forgotten. These are things that can be done this half-decade. Some of them, like implementing bike racks at schools, can be completed this year. That's why we have so much faith in this resolution. A couple of weeks ago, we started spreading the word about the resolution by creating a website, turndisdgreen.com, and starting a petition supporting the resolution's passage. In these weeks, we've garnered close to 1,000 signatures from across the city. Some of these signatures are Dallas residents eager to address a problem that for so long has been overlooked. Some of these signatures are parents who want to see their children inherit an earth that still has a shot at survival. But most of these signatures are we, the students, who just want to grow up and get jobs and be successful without having to worry too much about our futures. Tonight, you heard from 2 other students, and you will hear from 1 more, who came to speak about the resolution. We believe in this resolution and hope you will as well. So thank you so much for considering it. Thank you.
Andrew Nash, followed by Camille White.
Good evening. I'm Andrew Nash, Director of Operations with the Dallas-Fort Worth Minority Supplier Development Council. We certify over 900 African American, Native American, Hispanic American, Asian Indian-owned businesses. And I'm here to talk about Consent Agenda 7.03, the changes to the CH, and really the disbanding of the Minority Advocacy Committee. The Dallas ISD MWBE Advisory Committee cannot be segregated from other committees by not including vendors and advocacy organizations as members. There are other committees that do have chairs that benefit from being on those committees, and looks like the MWBE committee is being looked at as far as taking those folks out. If we're going to do it, we need to be fair across the board and do it to all the committees that's there. The organizations, the MWBE committee is made up of volunteers from all the other advocacy organizations, and they volunteer their time to come out Dallas ISD has one of the best MWBE programs to ensure that minorities are included, and they do a great job. And we want to ensure that this continues. But some of the changes as far as moving the MBE out of the CH and moving it to the back, sometimes when things are out of sight, out of mind, it's hard for people to get around that. So we're here to advocate on that. And again, the practice of the Dallas ISD senior management of not allowing the MWBE Advisory Committee to fulfill its role must stop. The Advisory Committee is there to advise and consult, and senior management has failed repeatedly to come to the Advisory Committee at the beginning of proposed major changes to MWBE inclusion. We learned about the committee last Monday at our meeting, and we had to come out and figure out what's going on. I had a chance to look at the videotape of the committee meeting, and I was surprised that no one from MWBE was in the room, and the trustee that was there was trying the hardest to make sure that they were included, but I think we need to make sure that MWBE has a seat at the table and that these changes doesn't disband and make this MWBE committee and make sure we reach our goals. We want to ensure that. So if you could vote to at least go back and invite the current MWBE meeting and ask them any advice that they have to ensure that what we're doing is right and it's going to continue to have Dallas ISD be the best it could be when it comes to MWBE participation. Thank you.
Camille White, followed by Isaac Steen.
Good evening. I'm Camille White, and there's a lot that I would like to bring out, but since I only have 3 minutes, I definitely want to piggyback on what the gentleman that spoke before me was mentioning. It is very important that we definitely keep the programs that we have in place for minority businesses. As you may not be aware, even though it's a small set aside, it's still not enough. It needs to be more. The administration wants to limit the serve on the committee to 6 years, but they're not asking any other committees to do this. I think that if it's good for one, it needs to be good for another. Everything needs to be done equally. Also, the administration wants to define what MWBE company is owned and operated and how it is controlled. That is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. There was so much that was packed into this one thing that it would take all of my time, and I have some other things that I definitely want to also address, such as item 7.136, where the district is asking to renovate a used school bus. Because for a food vending bus, it's not really clear what it's going to be utilized for and how it's going to be utilized. They're just stating that they're going to use it. But it's so many red flags to me when it comes to liability. Because what they're saying is the vehicle must only be used for transporting food. Food is not to be prepared in the vehicle. So that means that if you have a cluster at Skyline or one of our schools, they're not going to be the ones that's going to be utilizing this $150,000 bus. And to me, our resources could be utilized better than throwing money into the wind, because it did mention that it was a hazard, and it mentioned a lot of things that was in this that I feel really needs to be addressed. The other thing that I would like to address is item number 7.21, where the board is requesting that funds be taken and invested in what's being called Texas Fit. When I dialed the number, no one answered the phone. Not only that, when I dialed the number, it mentioned Water Walker Investments. And just on the brief research I've done, there's only 2 school districts that are in this investment fund. One of them is us, the other one is Florida. This company has only been in existence since May 31st, 2017. These are our tax dollars that could be utilized to do something with our students or something else with. So this is why I'm asking that this investment is looked at once again, because I just don't want to have another end run happen to us. Thank you.
Isaac Steen, followed by the Honorable Bernadette Nuttall.
My name is Isaac Steen, and again, I come to
talk about a certain issue, but other issues pop up before I can get to my issue. And the problem is, I just heard equity, racial equity committee, or whatever we have now, and why we need it. If we was treating right and treated equal, we wouldn't need a racial equity committee. If South Oak Cliff would have got a new school, we wouldn't have had to have a racial equity committee. If these kids just complaining about trash not being recycled, and we treat it like trash, we wouldn't need a racial equity committee. They complain about the fumes that come off the school bus. We need more school buses. So when we flush alcohol, it comes out in the cafeteria, I think the Reverend said. So my thing is, this board, now they want to move the mark. So black contractors are not getting their fair share. Every time we look around, it's something. We sing, "We shall overcome." We recite the Martin Luther King speech. I lived in the days of Martin Luther King, when we had to ride on the back of the bus. We had to eat out of the back of the restaurant. We had to go to other schools, and we didn't get the best. And we still there. We saying we shall overcome because we have not overcome. They saying we shall overcome because it's history to them, but it's a lifestyle for us. We have this board here is pushing us back. They want $3.6 billion, and they promised that they're going to give 4 units where they're going to put up in the Southern and the West Dallas, and they're going to have it so you can get resources. And they're going to spend $41 million out of $3.6 billion. We tired of eating crumbs, and you keeping a whole loaf of bread. And that's why we got a racial equity committee, because of you. If it wasn't for you tearing our schools down with your pens and closing up quality historical black schools instead of putting money into them, quit changing the district for you getting rid of kids and sending them somewhere else and say we don't have enough kids, it's because of you. We don't need a racial equity committee. We need to get rid of you.
The Honorable Bernadette Nuttall, followed by Anna Drenning.
My name is Bernadette Nuttall. In honor of Black History Month, this is what we get from the DISD board that is led by African American board president, whitewashing the MWBE policy, de-investing itself of minority vendors, perhaps trying to make Dallas great. When you look at the accomplishments of the civil rights movement that sought to secure full political, social, and economic rights for African Americans, I'm just puzzled that the benefactors on the board are working to turn the clocks back, that they don't see the value nor the importance of strengthening the MWBE policy, but rather weaken the MWBE policy, reversing 52 years of the civil rights movement of economic inclusion. While we have a presidential candidate putting forth the Greenwood Initiative, Economic Justice for Black America, while you, the DISD board, presents a policy of economic injustice for black and brown people in Dallas. Just in case you don't know about Greenwood, let me educate you. Greenwood, a community in Tulsa, was home to Black Wall Street in the early 20th century, the most prominent district of black-owned businesses in the United States. In 1921, the community was decimated in the Black Wall Street massacre, just like you doing the policies. We no longer have to run and hide from the Ku Klux Klan because we have elected officials who are bidding and doing the work of the Ku Klux Klan. Martin Luther King said a man or woman who stands for nothing will fall for anything, and we're not falling for it. We see you, DISD board members. What will history say about your decisions? Thank you.
Anna Greening, followed by Jen Tone.
My name is Anna Brining, and I reside at 2175 Kessler Court, Dallas, Texas, 75208. That's a tough act to follow. And I'm here to speak on the safety, health, and well-being of all children. And I think what the speakers have said before, what started with the young man, we need to listen. It's about love. Money, power, corporate control is not what takes care of our children. Our children is about love and community. And when we come together as one voice to take care of all of our children, then that's what makes a difference. And thank God that Ms. Durant, Dr. Durant, you guys you're speaking for a voice. You're getting the cameras in for a group of children who have no voice. And those are the special ed children. And you know what? I came here about a year ago and I talked about the kids that you're moving in Edison, that are kids that have been moved 3 times. And why? Because we're on the other side of the river. You don't move the kids on your side of the river or on your side of the river. But when it comes to our side of the river, you move the kids. 3 times these babies been moved. And you wonder why Martinez is having problems with kids? Because those babies have been kicked out and moved 3 times. So let's take care of our kids. Let's stand together. Let's do what's right. If we did one thing, just one thing, and said, is this in the best interest of students' safety, health, and well-being so that they can learn? If that was the only lens that we looked through, these adult problems, these corporate big money problems, they wouldn't be running us. And our kids would be safe, they'd be learning, and we wouldn't have these problems. We need to quit creating problems by listening to people that don't know what they're talking about, and they're not vested in here. Let's listen to that young man. You play that tape because he's speaking the truth. Thank you.
Jen Tone, followed by Gerlia Bennett.
Hi, I'm Jen Tone. I thought it was important to address the focus of fraud for students out of residency in the DISD magnet schools. I mean the focus of this at Booker T, Washington, as I have not seen this focus in the news or social media or any other school, really. The barrage of attacks on social media and in the news with the incorrect information. I often think of kids like my own who spent much of their 12, 13-year-old lives studying and practicing their art, dance, music, and theater, missing such a big part of their preteen years, but giving so much dedication in a truly professional, adult, sophisticated way to get into one of the best visual and performing art schools in the country. The school of their dreams, the school they gave up a bit of their childhood for, to work away at this audition, their first true life interview at such a young age, and they succeeded. Wow, I worked hard enough to get into this school that means so much to me. That is so important. That could put me in a place for my art, focus, and creativity. That could change my life forever. That could make a difference in the future and my future and allow entrance into an amazing college. And thank goodness I or even one of my parents live in a city where I can experience this lifetime dream to further my art or skill in one of the best visual and performing art schools in the country. All to spend their first year as a freshman or as a sophomore or as a junior or senior wondering why their extremely talented violinist buddy isn't present at school that day. Or in our case, to go white on the stairs before school watching their parents, who have both been working nonstop and out of town, run around to collect mortgage statements, water bills, and any other NDISD proof to validate their very in-district child for the second time that year. And the conservatory homeroom teacher called and let them know the letter was coming, and they only had 3 days to return it. But they received it over a holiday or the weekend and are frantic to remedy this worry for their very in-district child and for themselves. Well, my child was scared to go to school that day. She heard it on the news, she had heard it from her friends, and she had seen it on social media. And she had absolutely no reason to worry, but she did. They all are. And isn't that a distraction to these oh-so-talented kids who worked like crazy to get here, to this amazing school Dallas should be so proud of? I am just asking for the focus to not be on one school, but to focus on all the magnet schools within DISD, because they are all important. And this issue is truly district-wide. And as we have seen, there are many other district issues that are currently being ignored. And people will say, We are focusing on all the schools, but I haven't seen an offer yet for $5,000 to turn in a child at any other Dallas magnet school. And why hasn't the DISD helped support us or defend us or helped our children? Should they support themselves? These young adults worry about their future daily. It's a distraction to these artists, thespians.
Thank you. Your time has expired.
Thank you.
Jalea Bennett.
Good evening. My name is Julia Bennett, and I'm in the 11th grade at Kathleen Joy Gillum Collegiate Academy. As others have mentioned, we are here today to urge you to pass the Environment and Climate Action Resolution for Dallas ISD. The Dallas Morning News reported that researchers looked at 18 schools that have more than 17% of students with asthma, and all but 2 are located south of I-30. The article also says the Nature Conservancy Group and its partners are zeroing in on Dallas ISD, where 9.5% of its students has asthma, whereas the national average is 8.3%. The article links asthma to air pollution and says that the poorer schools have the worst asthma rates. This is why we need environmental equity. Minorities and disadvantaged communities are put at a greater risk to develop health problems. This resolution will keep the most vulnerable safe from harmful effects of environmental hazards like pollution, as it addresses how climate change can limit equality of opportunity. And since children today will be hit the worst by the effects of climate change, it is necessary that we take action. So please do the right thing, and thank you for considering this resolution.
Diane Birdwell, followed by Regina Bridgeford.
And I'm taller. Good evening. I'm Diane Birdwell with NEA Dallas. I live at 5705 Meadowick, just around the corner. You know what I'm here to talk about. But first, I want to thank y'all about the raises that we're supposed to get with HB3. Please don't keep telling people, though, that it's tied to TEI. Yeah, it is, because y'all got it done in Austin, but it has nothing to do with our ratings and TEI. And as a matter of fact, what I should be making now, starting next year, is what I should have been making without TEI if we'd still been on the career ladder that we had before TEI. So I'm finally getting caught back up after 7 years. Thank you. I was able to attend part of the briefing y'all had about a week or two ago about security measures, and despite any frustration I have with any of you or how much I may think you don't understand what it really is for teachers to contend with every day, I sincerely know that every single one of y'all really do care about the safety of the campuses and the children and the people within. I really do believe that. So I want you to know that I'm here again asking that the security and safety allocations for counselors, monitors, and police officers take priority over any other project, program, or consultant in the new budget. I'm hoping that the staffing ratio formulas will be lowered for these positions to improve safety in all of our schools. And I want to remind people outside of DISD that my working place, you know, all of y'all have jobs. You want to be safe in your working place. I want to be safe in mine. But my place is where kids come to school. So if I feel safe, they're safe. So what makes me safer makes them safer too. But things concern me. First, I noticed that one trustee who's up for election stated that he learned something at Harvard and said that hand wands were better than metal detectors. But please send me, sir, that via DISD email to me, those studies. I'd like to see the veracity of that statement. This building has metal detectors. Airports have metal detectors. Sports arenas have metal detectors. I implore you all to leave them in our schools. They are a deterrent if used correctly and the staff are trained correctly. It's not the machine, but the system that works. And in case some of the new members don't know this, I was in the United States Army for 9 years. I did intelligence and security work, and I guarded 36 nuclear weapons on physical security. I know security. Okay, you might want to talk to me instead of a consultant. So I want them also, I would like, and I challenge each and one of you on the board to come to our school and one of your schools, and in 15 minutes, I want you to hand wand 1,100 kids and check their backpacks. Okay, I want you to wonder, could I have missed something? And then wonder 10 minutes later, did I miss something? And wonder if something's going to happen. Also, someone told y'all that 90% of the campuses had been trained on how to stop fights. They don't. We haven't been for over a decade. When someone was here before and you got it done for us. make sure that you know that we have no policy in DISD on what I'm supposed to do when a fight breaks out, nor do people know what to do if it actually happens. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Regina Bridgeford, followed by Anna Pete. Regina Bridgeford, followed by Anna Pete. Rhonda Thompson, followed by Elizabeth Van Verleek.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very excited to be here, and actually, I am here to give good news as well as a challenge. I'm very impressed with what's been happening here. I hear a lot of wonderful reports on wonderful things happening in the district, and that's exciting. And I hear the focus on the kids, and that's exciting. And for me, I did give you a handout so that you can ponder what I share with you today after we leave. And that is to give one direct commendation to DISD and the school, and that is Booker T. Washington High School for performing arts. And I am Anna Pete. I've been here 2 years, and I've been really blessed to be involved in this program. It's really impressive to learn that the Booker T. Washington High School is world-renowned. That's a lot of power, and power equals money. But that reputation of being world-renowned is now being marred. And I do want to challenge you on that. It's attracting the most promising artists every single year. That's why we have this fight. My family is personally very grateful for the opportunity our daughter has by being able to audition and get in to this program, because not only has she grown as an artist, she has also grown and been able to come out of herself in a safe space that is no longer a safe space, because her friends and her are now focused on anxiety and angst for the situation instead of being able to focus on growing up as a teenager in a safe space to grow their art and become world-changing adults, which is what is promised. That is, the commendation is, this is an amazing school. However, I do want to leave with a challenge, and that is this. I want to urge DISD to procure a process that will take Booker T's reputation and DISD's even higher, and that is to invest in equipping the kids from the DISD districts to be competitive. Feed the programs, create programs, put money into the children so that they're equipped to compete in an audition based on your standards that is now world-renowned, producing amazing artists. My daughter has the opportunity now, being at Booker T, where she was able to grow so much so that as a senior, she is now in the final round of auditions and interviews for the Juilliard School, London Contemporary Dance School, and Arts Umbrella in Canada. Without the process of being able to join Booker T, she would not have had those successes. And so the cycle continues. Success breeds success, and it starts with the kids. Let's make that happen.
Rhonda Thompson, followed by Elizabeth Van Verleek.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Van Vleck, and I appreciate the opportunity to come here to support Booker T. Washington High School for the Performing Visual Arts in regard to the recent escalation of media negative criticism about the school and the residency issues. I wanted to introduce myself quickly, just that I've had 45 years of being involved with the arts and education. I danced in New York professionally. I worked for the New York City Ballet Education Department, teaching in the public schools there. At 47 years old, I went back to school to get my master's in arts administration so I could serve the arts and education again. I moved to Dallas from California Institute of the Arts and found a vibrant art scene, and Booker T was just such a gem. I couldn't believe it was all here. So I now work for Titus Dance Unbound. If you don't know who we are, we bring in the best international dance companies to Dallas, and I run the engagement and education programs, and I deal with Booker T all the time with our master classes, lecture demonstrations with all our visiting artists. And I am currently the Booker T. Washington Arts Council president, which is composed of 45 member arts organizations that support activities at the school. I've been following the escalating media attention regarding the residency and adherence to DISD residency policies since the Advocate article came out in May 19. The latest assault by the Advocate, dated February 17, has taken a situation to another level. The article pointed out to a bounty of sorts from a Texas-based government Crime Stoppers website to send secure tips online to turn in cheaters for $5,000. I think DISD has been silent. I did find one document on the newsroom website, but I had to really dig for it. The silence of DISD promotes the perception that Booker T is to blame. I'm disappointed that DISD's response has been silent, and it ignites confusion and fear. For example, I found one thing online that asked if DISD was actually condoning this kind of behavior. I've heard that media is infiltrating the schools, and the families and students have been harassed. I believe that strong leadership from DISD is at hand. I'm here to ask DISD to create a united front in support of Booker T, and in doing so, honor the school, its history, its reputation, while protecting the students. I'm here to ask that you make a strong
Thank you, Ms.
public
Verlick.
statement.
Your time
of
has
defense.
expired. Christine McCullum, followed by Tony Perkins.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. My name is Rhonda Thompson, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I am here also speaking about the residency issue for Booker T. Washington. My daughter is a senior there this year. She's been there for 4 years. My husband and I have lived in the district for 13 years, and I also own a business and employ over 200 people, and I'm so glad to support the city and the school district, and this school in particular has done a fabulous job with my daughter, and I appreciate it. I attended the town hall meeting that the district administration put on for our school last year when this issue first arose. And I walked away hearing the comments of the administration and the parents, and I walked away feeling satisfied that an issue had arisen, that it was being investigated, that there was a path to enforcement, and that everybody was encouraging and willing to enforce it. Walked away from it. Felt like it had been taken care of and addressed, and I was pleased generally with the response. Not perfect, but pleased. This Lakewood Advocate thing that came out in February is why I'm here. I think it has changed the tone of the conversation to one that's more threatening. The kids do feel very upset about it. It needs to stop. That's not necessarily within your control. I know that. But what I'm here to tell you is that, let me just say as a parent, please, when you hear this information, when someone comes to you in any resource and tells you that it's not being enforced, as part of the parent organization at the school, I hear the administration speak, I'm with the teachers, they're all on board. They're all willing to enforce it, they want to enforce it, and anyone out there telling you something differently, please know that you can now say to them, you've heard from a parent from inside the school tell you that the teachers and the administration are behind it, they're willing to enforce it, and that is going to happen. And that these kinds of issues that are coming up with the Lakewood Advocate are unnecessary because they're taking care of it. There may be another discussion whether or not the residency is the best solution for the school, but at this time I'm here to tell you as a parent, as a business owner and a taxpayer in Dallas, that it's being taken care of, the administration is on board, and any information to you that's different from that has not been my personal experience. Thank you.
Christine McCullum, followed by Tony Perkins.
Hi, Board. My name is Kristen McCollum. I am a Dallas resident, graduate of Hillcrest High School. Go Panthers. And thank you. And I have 2 kids at Booker T. Washington, so I'm going to jump on this issue as well. I have serious concerns with how the district is handling the media coverage of the residency situation. In the January 29th issue of the Dallas Morning News, Sharon Grigsby reported on the open house, which took place at the school on January 9th. According to her reporting, one dad who had been at the meeting told her that the residency issues weren't brought up. Grigsby took this information to Stephanie Elizalde, the DISD chief of school leadership, who said, in quotes, she was super embarrassed to hear this, and that she's, in quotes, taken the necessary steps to stop this from happening again. I emailed the reporter for more information because I was at one of the open houses. There are 4, depending on which conservatory you're applying for. It turns out I was at the same open house as the dad, and I can tell you that the residency requirements were most definitely discussed. Parents also had the opportunity to ask questions about the process. The fact that Ms. Elizalde took this one accusation from a parent instead of investigating the issue and talking to people who are actually in attendance astounds me. When I told the reporter I had been at the same meeting and that the requirements were brought up, she responded by saying that, I quote, the district confirmed the dad's report. I'd love to know who from the district was at that meeting to confirm the dad's report. I don't recall seeing or hearing that any district representatives were there. I feel like the district is leaving Booker T, its staff, teachers, and students out to dry and throwing them under the proverbial school bus. There is an increased amount of stress inside the school now, as you have heard. Seniors who are applying for college are concerned because of the report, which was apparently blindly confirmed by, I'm assuming, Ms. Elizalde. The bad press based on one accusation that, again, was blindly confirmed by a DISD employee could affect their chances of getting into college. I had assumed that one of the jobs of the district was to protect its students, teachers, and staff. I feel like the district has completely failed them on this. I believe the district should issue a public statement in support of the teachers and staff of Booker T. Washington, clarifying that the residency information was presented at the open house and that the report was incorrect. I also believe an investigation needs to be launched as to why Ms. Elizalde and the district confirmed this report to the press in the first place. Thank you for your time.
Tony Perkins, followed by Sheila Walker.
Good evening, trustees. My name is Tanya Perkins. I'm a Dallas resident. I have a junior at Booker T. Washington. Through the last 9 months of residency reporting, questioning, and responding, there's been a solid drive for this to be a cut and dry issue. It should only be DISD residents that go to Booker T. It should only be DISD middle school. It could only be fill in the blank. There are a lot of opinions, but DISD has a policy, and Booker T has followed it. Booker T is not a cut and dry high school. There are lots of examples. Our wind ensemble needs 3 oboe players. In all 40 DISD middle schools, there are 2 oboe players. All the middle schools cannot fulfill Booker T's needs. This leaves a space for one out-of-district student. We have a lot of students who have filled those roles to make Booker T what it needs to be. And through this reporting, the response to the reporting, through DISD non-response, we have a lot of kids who feel stressed mentally. They don't necessarily feel safe with reporters on campus. Their needs aren't being met. The Magnet Office regularly approves all of our students. Unfortunately, through the media coverage, response has questioned your decisions and our decisions. We need you to stand behind the decisions that have been made. We can't do anything about what's been reported, but you can respond. We have students from every one of your districts in our schools. Our kids are your kids. They need to hear from you. Our administration needs to be able to respond. The parent phone calls and emails that haven't been answered need to be answered. It would go a long way, and we would really appreciate your support. One of the questions that has come up lately is that choice schools are allowed a certain percentage of out-of-district kids. One of the questions we might have for you to consider, is that something that needs to be across the board to alleviate this discussion? This discussion continues to come up again and again. Maybe it's time to talk about how we alleviate this for good. Thank you for your time.
Sheila Walker, followed by Ilana Malone.
Good evening, Board President Henry,
trustees, and superintendent of schools. My name is Sheila Walker. I reside at 10707 Big Thicket Drive in Dallas, Texas. I'm the executive vice president of NEA Dallas. I've heard a lot of comments today about treating people right, treating people fair, treating students fair, treating each other fair. Now I'm here talking again about due process for support employees in Dallas ISD. Some support employees are not treated fair. I've gotten calls from teacher assistants at different schools, at certain schools, about how administration is treating teacher assistants. They're being watched when they clock in. They're being followed on their breaks. They're being followed at their lunch. They're being timed on their breaks and lunch. They have been told, clock in early so you can be at your post on time. I don't think that's legal. When the biometric clock was put into place, I remember when it was put into place, we had 6 minutes before and 6 minutes after to clock in. They have been written up for clocking in at 7:33 when their time is 7:30, and getting an email before they even go home. You clocked in at 7:30, but you didn't report to your spot until 7:33. These employees are stressed, losing hair, losing weight, because administration don't know how to treat support employees, specifically certain teacher assistants on this campus. I don't even want to mention it, but I will to the certain board member. It's hurtful for me to see an employee treated like that when I have to hear it over and over and over about how they're not treated. They don't want to go to work. They're crying. They're doing all kind of things. And been told that this district is not designed for teacher assistants. Watch who you hire in these positions, because that's not said. I was a teacher assistant before I was a community liaison. It takes the support personnel to run the district. We are the backbone of the district. And the reason why it's so hurtful and painful for me, because that person I'm talking about is my daughter. So we need to do something about it. That's all I'm going to say. We need to do something about how we hire, what we hire in the district. So, thank you.
Ilana Malone, followed by Ola Allen.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ilona Malone, Pecan Heights. It's a small neighborhood bordering on the 4600 Longview Center, and our street is La Barbara Circle, which has an emergency gate, and that's what I would like to address. 200 cars going in and out, those are the employees' cars, starting at 5 a.m. in the morning and in the evening. And it takes about 2 hours for those to go through the emergency gate. And the noise of the employee parking lot is, in addition to this, it's unbelievable. There are safety issues for the residents. We are about 12 homes on the La Barbara Circle. And that gate was put in for emergency when Longview floods, and that is the solution, that Longview will rebuild, because DISD has increasing buses. It's just getting bigger and bigger. And so the solution is with rebuilding Longview with proper drainage, sidewalks, and sufficient gates and space for DISD buses and employee cars. The demand is more than our little street can handle. Besides the light, the pollution, the noise, the parking lot, it's the opposite side. So we hear everything from driving and hollering 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm up at 5:25 every morning. It's affecting my health. I'm representing our neighborhood. It's a very quiet neighborhood, and the neighbors do come to me, and this is the second time around that I'm here. So I received a message from Mr. Justin Henry that the gate will be closed. And I did talk to Teresa Daniel. She is with the Dallas County about checking into getting Longview redone. I also contacted the rezoning department to get this rezoned. Half of La Barbara is commercial, which is you, and half is residential, which is us. And I also talked to the Department of Public Works. So it's all in the making. It's a lot of work for me. And you guys need to step up to the table. I was here at the board meeting in December 2018, and DISD, you guys closed it. Thank you. And during 2019, the gate was reopened 2 to 3 times. I put myself on a board meeting list and withdrew because by the time the board meeting came up, you closed the gate. So somebody was talking about transparency.
Your time has expired. Ola Allen, followed by Arthur Fleming. Arthur Fleming, followed by Zachariah Manning.
Good evening, everybody. Arthur Fleming, NAACP Executive Committee member. How you doing? Glad to see you back, lady. I just want to talk about transparency. Lack of transparency, as a matter of fact. Stucco or brick. You know, you came out and had us voted for a brick, you gave us stucco. No transparency. Southern sector bad water. You know, we've been talking about that for a minute. Water's still bad. Where's the transparency? DISD, no bid contracting issues. You know, we know about that. Breaking up contracts so you can pass them out, right? You know, where's the transparency on that? No quality or equity control to help provide transparency. In other words, you know, how do you all know what you're getting for your money because you don't have anybody checking? That's a recipe for folks to walk off with the money. I mean, really? Transparency in teacher pay. Teachers in the southern sector, right, in the, you know, in the worser school, well, I won't say worser, but, you know, in the not as good schools, get way less pay. Something almost like $10,000 less. You know, something wrong with that. Something is wrong with that. You heard people talk tonight about Booker T. Washington, pay to play, right? You know, like, you know, what's that about? You know, that's been going on for how long? No transparency, okay? You fired your last two financial executives, right? Because they came up and said money walking out the door, right? So, you know, where's the transparency? Now you're coming back now, you say we need a $2 to $3 billion bond package. You haven't demonstrated transparency on the last bond package. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to, you know, pass that? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my NAACP Dallas Executive Committee to lead an effort to ask TEA to do a financial audit on DISD in the areas of contracting, technology, disparities in teachers' pay, and some other issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close with a moment of silence. I just want to just think a minute about transparency. What it would be like if DISD was transparent. I got a few seconds. Let's think about that. That's good. I feel it. Transparency. Thank you. Thank you.
Zachariah Manning, followed by Delna Bryan.
Thank you. Hey, they fire people that are transparent. Okay, so my name is Zachariah Manning, Dallas County Commissioner Precinct 1 candidate, former Dallas ISD Capital Improvement Project Construction Manager, actual whistleblower. So for the Gooch project, the Dunbar project, and other construction projects that were my projects in Dallas ISD, I was terminated for complaining about those projects. I'd like to give a brief history of the misuse of your taxpayer money that circumvented this board and excluded women and minorities from bidding on construction projects. Exhibit 1. On or before November 3rd, 2015, I verbally expressed my opposition concerning giving jocks work valued over $500,000 without going before this board. Have that in an email. Exhibit 3. On August 4th, 2016, I wrote to the TEA in a formal complaint concerning these projects. And I lay out to the TEA, Hailstorm Roofing Project Package 4 and other roofing projects, but not limited to roofing projects within the Capital Improvement Department. Projects are intentionally maintained under the $500,000 mark when it is known at or before assessment that they are over the mark, so the department can avoid sending these projects out for competitive sealed bid. The director has stated on many occasions that it takes too long and don't have the time for that. The department also will do what they call phasing to avoid each purchase order not to exceed $500,000 for assessing these jobs that are out there. This is about $5 million to $15 million a year in projects. Exhibit 4. I sent a supplement to the TEA. Projects to be added should include Gooch Elementary. Then I also stated, please assist because the district has progressed this retaliation and harassment and unfair treatment against me. Exhibit 5. I sent an email to Michael Hinojosa on August 17, 2016, stating, below are just an example relating to sequential purchases, avoiding competitive sealed bid. And Michael Hinojosa forwarded that email to Cynthia Wilson. Please have someone to check into this ASAP. Got the email right here. Then on August 17th, the same day, I asked my director for a transfer out of that department. And March 14, 2018, I got a signed statement from a contractor.
Manning.
Thank you.
Delna Bryan, followed by Kathleen Keeter.
Good evening, honorable trustees, Dr. Hinojosa. I'm Delna Bryan, president of NEA Dallas, 6500 Greenville Avenue. During the month of December 2019, NEA Dallas, an affiliate of TSTA, conducted a random sample survey of 1,547 teachers in Dallas ISD to gauge the use and practice of our planning periods and our preparation time. The survey was distributed and analyzed per SurveyMonkey. Teachers were presented with 6 questions, and you have the packet showing what we answered. There's a critical need for planning periods. Multiple violations of the Education Code 21404. The negative impact on teachers, both professionally and personally. When teachers do not receive their allocated 450 minutes per 10 days, this causes problems. 92% of the teachers surveyed reported that the quality of the instruction that impacted their conference period impacted what they were teaching. 4.45% of the teachers said they were asked to sign waivers to relinquish their conference period. 94.9% of the teachers reported that they did not have enough time to plan appropriately without these conference periods. 59.5% of the teachers stated that not having these conference period reduced a lot of time. 21.62, it reduced and produced moderate hardships. 21.62 the hardships were a little less. During the first semester of 2019, more than 26.01% of our teachers reported that they had to give up more than 15 days of conference periods. 4.11%, they gave up 12 days. 0.5 said they gave up 10 days or more. Gentlemen, ladies, this is not acceptable. The report that you have on your desk, 47 pages. I would ask that you read it, you digest it, and earnestly find appropriate measures to address us on all our Dallas ISD campuses as teachers. Thank you.
Kathleen Keeter, followed by Jessica White.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Keeter, 6079 Fox Point Trail, Dallas, Texas, 75249. I am a 27-year DTR veteran teacher with Dallas ISD. I have taught all grades, K through 6th grade. I was hired by a wonderful mentor, Dr. Durant, and taught at William and Anderson. I have been fortunate to work in many different areas, which include Bethune, Barack Obama Male Leadership Academy, an ACE school on free leave for 4 years, as well as Rosemont. I was also a member of the Superintendent's Advisory Committee. The issue I'm speaking about is moving Rosemont 3rd grade down to the primary campus. It upsets me why we, the teachers, have not had any input in this decision. The primary campus was built to be a pre-K2 early childhood campus. I was a 3rd grade teacher at Upper Campus the year the lower campus was opened. Our classrooms were in the 1986 wing, which had bathrooms in each of the classrooms. It currently holds middle schoolers. What I find troubling is why you want to change the makeup of one of your most popular choice schools. Grades 3 through 5 should be together since these grades take STAR and vertical alignment and planning are essential for supporting student growth. If 3rd grade moved down, they would be the only grade taking STAR, and we would be the only pre-K3 campus. Why are we not including 3rd grade in the renovation? I ask you to please rethink the decision to move 3rd grade to the lower campus. The special early childhood environment that we have at lower would be affected by adding more lunches, more specials classes, more testing lockdowns, and overall scheduling nightmares. Why are we changing something that works? Finally, putting 3rd grade at lower would limit our enrollment. We would not be able to accept as many transfers. Doesn't this defeat the purpose of DISD competing with charter schools? Shouldn't we be doing everything we can to allow students to attend one of the best campuses in Dallas ISD? Please keep Rosemont Primary a pre-K2 early childhood campus. Thank you.
Jessica White, followed by Andrew Kirk.
Good evening, DISD Board. I am Jessica White, a mother of an alum and a current Booker T student, a fierce supporter and advocate for Booker T and its faculty. Our number one request of DISD is to protect the students at Booker T and all schools in the district. First and foremost, we do not condone or advocate for anyone to falsify residency documentation. When it was released in the news that the $5,000 bounty was put on the students at Booker T to be turned in as a potential for out-of-district students, DISD was silent. Nothing was done to address the students, parents, about their involvement in the activity, or was it approved of the activity. It took over a week for any statement to come out and was released, did not answer the questions submitted by the parents. Booker T is being attacked and DISD is turning its back on one of its most premier schools. Immediately after the news report, DISD had a responsibility to come forward and address the media that DISD supports our students and present a united front with our school. It was not acceptable to put our children in this position. News media was on campus trying to interview our kids, and people are being harassed on social media, and nobody protected the kids. The lack of support is tarnishing Booker T's reputation and could impact the future of our kids. The kids are the district's constitution, and it is DISD's responsibility to protect our kids. I do want to say something. You guys are there. It's like Booker T, you bring out the dog and pony show when you need them. You're asking for money, you want them to do stuff, but when we get in trouble with something that isn't even true, this happens all over, but you guys are not there to support us. It's like crickets. But when you need something, you bring them out. Look at here, you need a backdrop. Where is it? We're Booker T. I think you guys need to speak up and support them. Why are the schools of choice 30% of districts 30% of district students? Booker T is allowed to take out-of-district students too, and those kids are so scared. They legitimately belong there. We're only allowed 10% of out-of-district, so we do have out-of-district kids. I do believe we need more. In the in-district waitlist that meets the qualifications, there is no policy in place today indicating a cap on the total of out-of-district kids we can admit. We should be asking at a minimum that DISD advocates for magnet schools to have the same requirements that the choice schools have for allowing 30% of out-of-district students. In September, the DISD Executive Director of Magnet Schools verbally spoke to parents at Booker T and approved the ability for families to have multiple residencies, even citing here her home boyfriend had multiple residencies. Why has that DISD board not publicly acknowledged and accepted? Has not publicly acknowledged the acceptance of this?
Thank you, Ms. White. Andrew Kirk, followed by Zara Dawish.
Hi, my name is Andrew Kirk, and I'm a 9th grade social studies teacher at Sunset High School. I've been at my campus for nearly 6 years, and I'm a distinguished teacher as well. This evening, I'm speaking in support of a priority our district and my campus have recently adopted, and against another we adopted more distantly years ago. 2 weeks ago, I attended a very helpful training at my campus on social emotional learning, or SEL. The facilitators modeled activities to support more positive student-teacher relationships and allow our campus to become a more caring community for students and teachers alike. Our campus SEL committee is working to expand PD opportunities in this area after a positive reception from our teaching staff. While this is a priority I largely support, it cannot be adopted with the fidelity it deserves. This is the case because long ago, our district and our state adopted another priority, that of test and punish. High-stakes testing and the attendant and excessive teacher responsibilities tied to it are undermining programs that more effectively support both students and teachers. Initiatives like TEI and more recently the Look Forward, Look Back protocols were adopted to promote accountability and increase rigor in instruction and evaluation. Instead, they promote a general narrowing of taught curriculum and a culture of gaming and compliance. This culture cheats students out of both authentic learning and meaningful spaces for human connection. It creates a regimentation that erodes creativity. The best gauge of its outcome isn't in improved test scores, but in projects never completed, current events never discussed, and experiments never conducted. It's difficult, if not point impossible, to make students feel they're valued when the systems we use to measure that value say they are not. The best way to support our students' social and emotional well-being is a broad reduction in the number of assessments, particularly ACPs and district common assessments, coupled with flexibility and differentiation and opportunities for building culture and community. This would also require a significant reduction in class sizes for teachers and in caseloads for counselors, school psychologists, and special education teachers. It necessitates a significant and durable investment in our support staff. This isn't impossible, but it does require political courage to accomplish. Thank you.
Zara Dawish, followed by Joyce Jackson.
Good evening. I came here tonight to address the board and Superintendent Hinojosa, but he's not here right now, and my time has come, and I don't feel that my message is just for 5-6 board members. I would like to be at least wait until the rest of the board is present so that we can have everybody listen.
The president.
I know. So keep on going because this is a really important issue, and I know that you cut off Barry last time, so I would really like for everybody to be present. Thank you, Dr. Hinojosa, for coming back, because this is an important message for everybody. My name is Zara Darwish, and unfortunately, Mr. Henry's not here, and Ms. Foreman. I'm here to talk about transparency, safety for our children. I'm the mother of a special education student, and so I live my life battling this administration for services for my kiddo. I go up against an administration that has legal behind them, that has consulting. They get on their phone, they're texting their legal department. I want to record those meetings. As a Texas resident, I have the right to go in and not tell anybody that I am recording a meeting. It is my right as a Texas citizen to go in. It's a one-party consent state. So I give the ARD meeting the courtesy and let them know I'm recording today. They cut my meeting off. They say, sorry, we can't do this. Well, I've been recording for 10 years since I set foot in this district, without you knowing sometimes, and sometimes with the district actually bringing the tape recorder and helping me to record. So I think that you're giving misinformation, one. Number two, you have to be transparent. There are wordings in these IEP meetings that are critical so that we can get services for our children. I've been stopped at a meeting where I have my ARD committee agree to the services. They were going to cost the district quite a penny, but you know what? Once I got the agreement from the ARD committee that this is what we wanted for this placement of this child, somebody from the district said, wait a minute. Can we change the minutes to where it says the parent requests this service? No, I leave my parent jacket at the door, as the principal should, or whoever else is sitting on that ARD committee that goes there and has the ethical obligation to make sure that the placement for that child is being considered. I don't consider this transparent. If they were able to do that, I would not have gotten the services. The district would not have been responsible because the ARD committee.
Thank you, Ms. Darwish. Your time has expired.
Be transparent.
Joyce Jackson, followed by Stephen. You're out.
Good evening, Board. My name is Joyce Jackson, and I'm here to speak in support of 7-year-old Trent Smith, a former DISD student who is currently being sued by DISD, despite 2 rulings in favor from TEA. His mom, who is a DISD educational diagnostician, not Dealey Montessori, initiated a special education referral suspecting a learning disability, a speech impairment, and dyslexia, and occupational therapy. But 4 months later, after an observation on the playground, the school psychologist felt that Trent could be autistic. Autism was never suspected by the parent or the teacher, so his mom did not agree to additional autism evaluation. But according to DISD board policy, EHBAB local, it states, if a district determines that additional examination or test is required for the evaluation of a child's need for special education, the district shall provide the information above to the parent regarding the additional examination or test and shall obtain additional consent for the examination of the test. It does not state that they must give consent or the evaluation stops, which is exactly what happened to Trent. Even though evaluators thought that they had enough data for special ed eligibility, Trent was denied services because his mom didn't agree to autism testing. So basically, if a parent disagrees, DISD will sue them. The first ruling from TEA in Trent's favor required DISD to complete the evaluation and hold an ARD meeting. That's when the retaliation against his mom began. That night, before the ARD, Trent's mom was sent a partial evaluation report, with the shocking addition of a possible emotional disturbance that they'd never mentioned. I worked in DISD for 20 years as a general educator, as a special educator, as an educational diagnostician, as a supervisor, as a director of this same department. And I retired as an executive director of special education for a neighboring district. And I have never heard of this practice. Most of my career was spent in DISD, where I learned the importance of building a trusting partnership with parents. But what has happened? While you're preparing to present a
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
multi-billion-dollar
Your time has
bond
expired.
package, I will not be
Stephen,
able to vote for
you're out,
the bond in
followed by
November.
Dr. Michael Bowie.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Yearout. I'm the host of Empower Dyslexia. I'll start with Empower Dyslexia, or dyslexia does not discriminate. It loves us all. It loves every one of us. And one of the things that I've heard here at the school board meeting is social and emotional learning, talking about security, talking about making sure that these kids are where they need to be. The first thing that we need to do is make sure that our kids can read, spell, and do math. When we look at the numbers here in Texas, and even in this district, they're pitiful. We know that 1 in 5 are dyslexic, 20% of the population. This district has 2.8%. My district, Garland, has 57,000 kids. Y'all are 3 times the size. We are 1,000 students apart in identification. We know that if you have, take me for example, ADD, dyslexia, dropout. That's what we get when we don't get the help that we need. We know about how to treat dyslexia. We know the services that these kids need. These are some of the smartest, most intelligent, well-deserving kids that need this education. And we have far too long denied them services and pushed them aside because it is the hidden disability. Because you can't look at somebody and say, yeah, you're dyslexic. Yeah, you look dyslexic. We talk about the laws that we have here in Texas. I was identified in 1983. The first dyslexia law was passed in 1984. I got nothing. I have 2 boys who are dyslexic. When I started my advocacy and started looking at what's going on now, not a lot has changed. We still have parents that are fighting tooth and nail to just get the basic services for their kids, for the teachers to provide the accommodations that level the playing field so they can actually learn. So I'm going to put a challenge to you. Let's get these testings done. Let's identify these kids that need this help and provide it for them so we can cut the pipeline to prison. Because the only reason why I didn't end up there was because of my parents and some good teachers. Thank you.
Dr. Michael Bowie, followed by Nancy Rodriguez.
Good evening. Superintendent Hinojosa, President Henry, and entire Board of Trustees. I'm Dr. Michael Bowie, Senior Pastor of St. Luke Community United Methodist Church, and I'm here tonight to advocate for Trent Smith. For those who don't know, special education was originally designed to help individuals with special needs achieve a higher level of personal self-sufficiency and success in the school and in their community. Special education includes disabilities such as dyslexia, communication disorders, emotional and behavior disorders, cerebral palsy, and muscular dystrophy. But if we're honest this evening, people with disabilities are often undervalued and underappreciated. And I believe the purpose of teachers and administrators isn't just to look at a student and immediately label them with a deficiency, but take time to love them and to see the unlimited possibility in all of children. But far too often there seems to be a lack of patience and value placed on children of color when it comes to special needs. There's been several times when black boys in particular have struggled with attention behavior disorders, reading comprehension, and they are immediately labeled. In my profession and my calling, there's a child in the Bible named Mephibosheth. And when he was a child, he was dropped by a nurse and he had no mobility within his limbs. And he was placed in a place called Lodabar. Lodabar is a place, listen board, a place where you're thrown away, where you hide so nobody can see you, where they put you and they forget about you. It's a place where you're reminded that you are damaged goods and you don't matter to society. And if we be honest with ourselves, it's either somewhere in our lives, everybody in this room, we've been accidentally dropped somewhere. Maybe we've been a devastating divorce, untimely layoff, or overwhelming debt that has occurred maybe from a medical diagnosis. We've all been dropped before. And tonight, little Trent, he was diagnosed with dyslexia. And it's the school's responsibility to address that specific need. Trent's mother, who's very educated, she's not a stay-at-home mom. She has committed parents who have spoken up, and for several times, TEA has supported them. And it's amazing when y'all want the parents to speak up, and now they get penalized. And I just thought about this as I close. It's unfortunate that there's negative labeling on black boys, and it's amazing how there's more funding gained for boys to be labeled rather than have a magnificent future. And I thought about this. One day I was reminded, I talked to a friend of mine, and I said, remember we were pulled out of school in Houston, Texas because we were smart? She said, no, because we had reading comprehension problems. And I said, I'm so glad that I had teachers who didn't label me, but they loved me enough. Now I have a doctorate of ministry, and God is doing great things. We need to step up and stop labeling black boys.
Nancy Rodriguez, followed by April Green.
Nancy Rodriguez, 6725 Bobolink Drive. Trustees, I have comments on several items today, so I will be very brief on each. First, I urge you to reject the amendment to Policy CH that would delegate the board's authority to choose the procurement method to be used in a project to the superintendent. As we have seen in the district's recent scandal involving the audits of certain construction and repair projects, some procurement methods, like job order contracting, have greater financial risk than others. It is consistent with the board's responsibility to act as good stewards of the taxpayers' money to retain control over the choice of procurement method, especially with a large bond in the offing. Now is the time to tighten the board's oversight, not to hand it away. Second, I urge you to review as a board the administration's hapless revision of the class ranking regulations and its failure to correctly rank high school students, including at Woodrow Wilson. For better or worse, class ranks are a big deal for our college-bound students. It is unconscionable that this revision was made by fiat without parent involvement, and outrageous that class ranks are screwed up yet again. When will someone finally be held accountable? Third, I ask you to approve Policy EHBAB. Parents should have an accurate record of what they are told in ARD conferences. Fourth, I urge you to finally approve the installation of cameras in all of our self-contained special education classrooms. We know incidents happen where vulnerable children are abused in our classrooms, whether by district employees or other students. We know these children lack the ability to tell us about it. Do the right thing. Protect these kids. Fifth, I wish to voice my support for Angie Bolton. All she has ever wanted is an appropriate education for her son. Even though she has won 2 different hearings that have confirmed she is in the right, the district has finally run her off. She has enrolled her child in a private school. Yet we are now suing her in order to stick her with tens of thousands of dollars of legal bills, bills that would have been unnecessary had the district just done the right thing in the first place. Please ask Mr. Hinojosa why, with all the dozens of parents who are literally begging the district to evaluate their children, the district is so set on forcing an evaluation on Ms. Bolton, who doesn't want one. Ask him why the district, having failed Ms. Bolton's son, is still persecuting her. Ask him why our resources are being spent in losing litigation rather than delivering services to our students. And hold him accountable. And finally, I remind you that our recently departed Chief Internal Auditor found over $2 million of fraud in construction contracts dating as recently as 2018. He was due to release his audits in February. Now he has resigned and February has almost gone, but we've yet to see those audits. We taxpayers haven't forgotten, and we will require a complete and candid explanation if you expect us to approve a bond. Release the audits. Lastly, Zachariah Manning wants to make his hearing public, so keep an eye out for that.
April Green, followed by Janice Curry.
My name is April Green, 1905 Nelson Court, DeSoto, Texas. I am a retired Dallas ISD employee, a DISD parent, and a DISD taxpayer. I'm here to speak in support of Trent Smith, a 7-year-old former student of Dealey Montessori School. DISD has spent over $119,000 suing a 7-year-old who only wanted to learn how to read, whose parents asked for a free and appropriate public education for their son. Although TEA has ruled in Trent's favor 2 times, the district continues to waste taxpayer money suing Trent's family. DISD board members, I'm sure you have heard the quote, "Evil triumphs when good men do nothing." Evil triumphs when good men do nothing. There is evil running through the heart of Dallas ISD. Evil that prevents poor Black and brown students from obtaining a free and appropriate public education that is their right as a citizen. Evil that tells parents that they do not have the right to make decisions about their child's education. Yet, the good men in DISD do nothing. Who could do something? We went to Senator Bob Hall's office to ask to speak to Mr. Hinojosa, and he did speak with him, but they can do nothing without your board acting. The LSSP that was assigned to test this little boy at Dealey Montessori, she could have done something. She could have conducted a fair evaluation and helped get the services Trent needs to learn to read. Instead, she continues to join this district in blackmailing parents. Either allow her to do what she wants to do, or your child will not get help. Nearly 80% of the children she tests have been identified as autistic, when the district average is 20% and the state average is 13%. Evil is in the veins of DISD. The principal could have done something, but she didn't. The interim director of individual evaluation and executive director of special education could have followed the law and their code of ethics to ensure that a fair evaluation was conducted. They did nothing. The district lawyers who you pay a salary could have respected the decisions by TEA and saved this district $119,000. Evil is in your mind. We will be there to vote no against any kind of funding for DISD to get $3.6 billion in order to sue 7-year-old children. Vote no to this request for additional money to sue our kids.
Janice Curry, followed by Easter Robinson.
My name is Janice Curry. I was employed at Dallas ISD for 33 years. As an employee, I was a teacher, and I became an educational diagnostician. And I also was a supervisor for 12 of those years. I am here in support of 7-year-old Trent Smith, a former DISD student from Dealey Montessori, who the district is currently suing in federal court in spite of TEA's ruling in his favor twice. The question I ask is Dallas ISD good stewards of the public funds that I have voted for? Trent has been asked to help pay $119,000 plus for legal fees from your district. The question I ask is, why are we contracting and outsourcing lawyers to handle special education and other legal matters? What am I paying the salaried lawyers that are working in your offices daily to do? The question I ask is, as a resident and taxpayer for 36 years, will I vote for the largest district bond in state's history of $2.7 billion to $3.7 billion that you are proposing for November? The answer is no. I will not vote for the bond because you are showing me that you are not a good steward. You have shown me that there is a hidden agenda to pay enormous fees to matters other than those for the students in the district. You've shown me that your hidden agenda is to bleed the taxpayers to pay for frivolous, unnecessary expenses. How could you ask a 7-year-old child to pay you back for a dispute that you lost? My vote is no, and I would encourage others to vote no.
Easter Robinson, followed by Angela Crowder.
Good evening. My name is Easter Robinson. I am a Dallas resident. My children attended Dallas ISD. Both are working professionally and paying taxes. I have been in education. I was in education for 44 wonderful years, and 40 of those years was right here in DISD. I trusted this district as an employee and as a parent, but now I wonder, can DISD still be trusted? I am here to support Trent Smith, again a 7-year-old former student of DISD, who is currently being sued by Dallas ISD because his parent would not sign a consent for autism testing. His mother trusted DISD to educate her son, but DISD sued him instead. Her trust was misplaced. I worked as a diagnostician for DISD. My parents trusted me to act in the best interest of their children. Not once did I coerce or pressure a parent into signing a consent for testing that she or he did not want. The district is suing Trent's family to force them into doing unnecessary testing. As a diagnostician, I respect parents' rights, the law, and TEA's rules. And DISD is violating Trent's rights and ignoring 2 of TEA rulings, which were both in favor of the parent. I am so disappointed in the decisions made by the district that I worked for and trusted for 40 years. This lawsuit against the Smith family is frivolous and not wise use of my taxpayers' money. I will be voting no to your request for billions of dollars this November, and I will encourage my neighbors, friends, and church members to vote no. No to wasting our money on lawsuits against a student not even enrolled in DISD. No to violating parents' rights when they don't want to sign a consent. We cannot force or pressure them. Please investigate this, board members and Mr. Hinojosa, and halt this injustice.
Angela Crowder, followed by Jackie Jesse. Angela Crowder, followed by Jackie Jesse.
Hi, I'm Angela Crowder. I'm the parent of 2 special needs children. I have a family of special needs. And I'm also a clinical laboratory scientist, and I'm here to speak to you on diagnosis and the importance of diagnosis. I travel from Brea, California, to Miami, Florida, to West Point, New York, and I go help hospitals get ready. And my job is to aid in diagnosis. I aid physicians in diagnosis. Diagnosis in the medical field is just as important as it is in education. And an accurate diagnosis in special education is important so teachers will be able to adapt their style of teaching to the symptoms that are expressed in the student. Improper diagnosis, in turn, will result in a lack of proper aid in the student's education, which could greatly slow down their progress. This is why I am here to speak on behalf of 7-year-old Trent Smith. A solid educational foundation is one of the most important things for a student to have. Not only does a misdiagnosis not give a student the proper resources they need to succeed, but it will take aid from another student who does need it. The Texas Education Agency has sided with Trent's plight twice in the past, yet DISD continues to sue. And let me restate that. The DISD has sued the mom. The mom didn't initiate this lawsuit. DISD sued the mom. I pay taxes in Dallas County and in Collin County. I did not trust my special needs kid to DISD. I will be voting no and encouraging others, anybody that I can talk to vote no. I've sat here and I've listened to how this district wastes money. My daughter is sitting back here listening. She's shocked. She says, this doesn't happen in Plano. She is shocked to hear all the misappropriation of funds here. On your website, it says, educating all students for success. This is your mission statement. Trent is not included in that all. You have a goal that says staff works diligently, works with the parent. I've sat in the 12-hour ORT. That was not working with the parent. I have been in ORT since my son was 3 years old. I have never experienced anything like I experienced. There was not working with the parent, it was working against the parent. My profession is based on facts, and I've watched those words, I read those words, and for me, I could not understand how one word was read, but something else was stated. This is something that truly needs to be investigated. I would not encourage anybody to send their child with special needs to DISD.
Ms. Crowder, your time has expired. Jackie Jesse, followed by Katie Benefiel.
My name is Jackie Jesse. I'm a resident of Dallas County and a retired Dallas ISD employee. I am here to support Trent Smith, a former Dealey Montessori student. Dallas ISD has currently spent $119,000 suing this 7-year-old child, in spite of the fact that TEA has ruled in his favor 2 times. I was a teacher and a diagnostician for over 30 years. As a diagnostician, I worked with parents to access and help their students make progress. Dallas ISD is working against Trent's best interest. As a diagnostician, I fought for parent and student rights. DISD is working against the Smith family. As a diagnostician, I tried to meet the needs of exceptional children. DISD has prevented Trent from accessing the services he needs. Mr. and Mrs. Smith asked Dallas ISD for help, and Dallas ISD sued their son. Join me in voting no to your billion-dollar lawsuit, your billion-dollar bond request, no to violating parent rights, and no to suing 7-year-old students.
Katie Benefiel, followed by Yvonne Morgan.
Buenas noches and good evening, Superintendent Hinojosa and members of the board. My name is Katie Benefield, and I am a 6th grade pre-AP science teacher and math teacher at TAG in Pleasant Grove. I'm also a distinguished teacher and have the honor of being this year's Dallas ISD Secondary Teacher of the Year. I'm a phenomenal educator, but that hasn't always been the case. 6 years ago, I entered the doors of Blanton Elementary as a first-year teacher, full of excitement for the positive impact I was about to have on my students who reminded me so much of myself. I love teaching in Pleasant Grove. It reminds me of my childhood neighborhood in San Antonio and South Texas town my mother still lives in today. Our students in Pleasant Grove are rich in community, resilience, family, y amor, like my classmates were. However, like my classmates, our students are too often subject to the realities of poverty and trauma, which make attaining academic achievements incredibly challenging. Entering my first year, I understood that our students were not lacking in potential, but in opportunity and resources. They needed a teacher who could meet them where they were, support their needs, provide opportunities, and maintain high expectations for their academic future. It wasn't long into the beginning of the school year that I knew I wasn't yet that educator. Despite my best efforts, I was adding to the negative progress of my students. I was not an effective teacher. I struggled with classroom management, engagement, and rigor. As a result, my first year, only 43% of my students passed their fourth grade math star assessment. I had failed them. I felt defeated and thought education wasn't for me. After my first year, I was understandably rated a progressing one teacher under TEI. I had not done my job as an educator. I loved my students, but I had failed to grow them. Thankfully, in my second year, Dallas ISD began the ACE initiative, which brought the best educators and leaders to my campus. The TEI system played an invaluable role in ensuring that my principal recruited the top teachers. I was not a top teacher yet, but I wanted to change my own narrative as a teacher and remain at my campus. I interviewed with Laura Garza, bad academic data in tow, and she took a chance on me. For the first time, I saw what best teaching practices look like. I watched excellent educators like Josue Tamares make incredible academic gains with the same students I had watched struggle just to stay in the classrooms the previous year. I would sit in his classroom every day during my planning period, fully engaged in his lessons, learning, and aspire to be like him. Thanks to TEI and the incredible leaders and teachers at my campus, that dream became possible. My favorite part of TEI is its performance rubric. The rubric lays out clear expectations for best teacher practices. It is this rubric that my evaluators use to grow me little by little. At first, we started by focusing on domains that centered on student engagement, then alignment, and then rigor. Bit by bit, I improved my practice and as an educator and watched each year as my student achievement increased along with my TEI rating. I am now DTR teacher, and I am thankful for this because TER helped me. I encourage the board to consider
Thank
and
you, Ms.
continue to
Benefield.
support
Your time has expired.
TEI.
Yvonne Morgan, followed by Natalie Brown.
Good evening. My name is Yvonne Morgan, and I'm a health science technology teacher at the School of Health Professions at Townview Magnet Center. This is my 17th year teaching in Dallas ISD. I am an exemplary 2 distinguished teacher. I grew up in El Paso in a single-income home. It was a loving home, and my dream was to go to college, but I knew we didn't have the money. In high school, I participated in a career and technology program that allowed me to become a licensed vocational nurse in as little as 18 months at the age of 18. This meant I could work my way through college as a licensed vocational nurse. As a high school graduate with a nursing license, I worked at a hospital in Denton and earned an average of $69,000 a year. But nursing was not my dream. In 2002, I was hired at Skyline High School to be a physical education teacher and assistant to the athletic trainer. This was my dream. My first year, I earned only $37,000 a year. 3 years later, I earned my master's degree, and I was given a $15,000 raise. Even though I made more money as a high school graduate, I loved teaching. By this time, I had met my soulmate, who was also a teacher in DISD. We got married, started a family, and as a married couple, we still made less money than I would have as a nurse. But we loved teaching and we stuck it out. We were living paycheck to paycheck and often had to purchase groceries, formula, and diapers for our growing family on a credit card because our income was not enough to live on. So I returned to healthcare as a part-time agency nurse, took on a job as an adjunct faculty member at El Centro, and started a home-based business working every extra hour I could, in addition to teaching, to avoid us getting further in debt. I was exhausted from all the extra work. I felt like I could not give my students the support that they needed. I often thought about leaving teaching and going back into nursing, but that wasn't my passion. Sadly, there are still many teachers like me who have to take on second and third jobs to financially support their family. Historically, the teaching profession has not been valued, and for many teachers, it is not just about the paycheck. This is why I support TEI. It is an excellent program made to reward its best teachers. Teachers like me and many others who are here tonight, I ask you to continue to improve the system and pay more teachers like me as the professionals that we are. And as a person who is passionate about education, it's nice to finally have a paycheck reflect my passion. TEI has been such a big blessing for my family. My husband is also a distinguished teacher in DISD, and in a matter of 4 years, our income increased by $50,000. This allowed me to stop all the extra work, and I was able to focus more on my passion of teaching. We have both been able to stay in the classroom, and DISD has retained 2 more effective teachers, thus changing and impacting lives of students in Dallas.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan.
Thank you.
Natalie Brown, followed by George Renhel.
Good evening, President Henry, Superintendent Hinojosa, and fellow school board members, trustees. My name is Natalie Brown. I'm an exemplary rated second grade math and science teacher at Frank Guzik Elementary School, where I began my career 14 years ago and have been ever since. My campus attendance zone includes a domestic violence shelter, a homeless shelter, and a compound of foster care homes. While this teaching assignment can be emotionally draining at times, I believe the stability created by serving this community for so many years consecutively is part of my classroom success. I keep a note card near my desk that Talon, a student I had several years ago, once wrote a note on. It simply says, "Miss Brown, you make this broken heart into a whole one." This simple sentence has gotten me through some of my toughest days, because on a campus like mine, there are many broken hearts walking around in the chests of my students. I think about Trey, a student I had last year, whom I highlighted in my testimony to the House Public Education Committee this past legislative session. Like Talon, Trey is homeless. I distinctively remember walking my class back from lunch one afternoon and realizing that his shoe was literally falling apart with every step we took back up the hallway. And while the amount of shoes I buy for students like Trey and Talon aren't measured on the TEI rubric, strategic compensation provides the opportunity for me to stay in the classroom and continue to impact the lives of my students. Under TEI, my salary has increased $30,000 since 2014, with an additional $8,000 coming next year as part of the teacher incentive allotment. No doubt the increase in salary is a huge motivator. In fact, this year, as I consult with other district leaders around the state about strategic compensation, my first comment when they ask me to come to their district is, "Show me your salary schedule." I have yet to find a school district in this state that comes close to my current salary, not even if I had 30 years of experience and a doctoral degree. However, while the increase in salary has a great impact on my personal life, I have grown tremendously as a professional under TEI. Under this system, in order to reach exemplary, I have to not only impact my classroom, but find opportunities to work with my colleagues, impact my school in a systemic way, and even seek out statewide impact. Some of these tasks include being named by Commissioner Morath to the Compensatory Education Allotment Committee and working with TEA on the Teacher Incentive Allotment Survey being given to teachers in districts that are moving toward strategic compensation. Before TEI, I never would have been rewarded for taking on such roles. And I appreciate getting rewarded for growing my students rather than meeting a specific passing percentage. In closing, I understand that the system isn't perfect, but I prefer the strategic compensation model in place of a salary step, because the number of years I have been teaching shouldn't be the only factor considered in how good I am at my job. The impact I have on students and the teaching profession should be. Thank you.
Our last speaker is George Renhel.
Good evening, President Henry, Trustee, Superintendent Hinojosa. My name is George Rangel. I'm here to speak to the proposed changes to TEI and the anticipated funding from HB3. I was in attendance during the February 11th board briefing, and Alliance AFT was glad to hear the district admit there is still inequities in TEI. While we still do not endorse TEI, we are happy to see the positive changes are being made to the system, taking steps to use the updated version of the Student Perception Survey and modify the point distribution will make a system more equitable. However, the union still asks that the survey be used as an artifact by the evaluator. These surveys often hurt our students and our educators. We often hear teachers will not assign important homework or assignments because they are afraid the students might punish them on the survey. The union was also happy to hear that the targeted distribution process will now involve 2 sets of cut points for comprehensive and admission magnets. We are optimistic this will reduce some of the inequities in TEI, but we still urge the board to remove the school star score. Leaving the school star score in place encourages our best teachers to teach at the best campuses. We should not punish teachers for teaching in our neatest campuses. With regards to the HB3 money, Alliance Safety supports the proposed compensation to the effectiveness level. One of the most positive changes in the increase for Proficient 1 teachers, this group makes up a huge percentage of our educators that have long felt overlooked and frustrated by TEI. These changes will not suddenly make TEI a good evaluation system. The system is still full of inequities. It still encourages educators to teach to the test. No combination of variables will ever properly measure the students' growth. It's simply not possible. Is there a variable to account for students coming to school without sleep because their parents can't pay the bill? Is there a variable to measure the impact of losing a classmate, parent, or friend to a gun violence? Because right now, teachers are punished if a life-changing event slows the student growth. And guess where these life changes events tend to happen? In our black, brown, and low-income communities. That is one reason why we continue to see our highest-rated educators at magnet schools and not at their comprehensive ones. I urge the board to look at the scores of teachers who move from a magnet school to the comprehensive one. I'll tell you what happens. Their score drops. And it's not because the teacher changed, it's because the students did. That said, the changes are small steps in the right direction and will reduce some of the inequities in TEI. For these reasons, we suggest that the district adopt the proposed changes and keep meeting with educators to further improve the system. I also want to thank you for looking at the transportation department. You changed the policy that will help them get more overtime. Appreciate that. Thanks.
This concludes our speakers.
I want to thank all of our speakers. Trustees, we are now on section Yeah, we're going to take a short recess of, we're going to take a recess of, I'm going to aim for 15 minutes, potentially 20. So take a recess, trustees.
The time is now 9:51 p.m. and we have a quorum of the board back from recess. So we will go ahead and move to item 5 of the agenda. Item 5 of the agenda is the approval of minutes. The following minutes have been submitted for approval. Procurement Ad Hoc Committee meeting, January 14th, 2020. Public hearing, January 23rd, 2020. And the board meeting from January 23rd, 2020. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any corrections or changes, comments? All right, if no corrections, trustees, please cast your votes.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you, trustees. We have 2 statutory items to approve. Our first item is to adopt the order canceling the May 2nd, 2020 election for District 6 and to certify that the unopposed candidate is elected as of May 2nd, 2020. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Trustee Marshall, seconded by Trustee Flores. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the order canceling the May 2nd, 2020 general election for District 6 and to certify the unopposed candidate elected as of May 2, 2020. Please cast your votes.
The motion passes 4 voting yes and 1 abstaining.
Okay, thank you, trustees. We have as the next item 6.02, which is a statutory item to adopt the Environment and Climate Action Resolution for Dallas ISD Spring 2020.
Move to approve.
However, Trustee Mackey has asked us to hold this item until he returns. So
I object. No,
if there are no objections, we will come back to 6.02 when Trustee Mackey is present for the meeting.
Which will be in just a moment. So I know there's lots of people waiting on that one.
You want to do the consent?
Yes. Mr. President, you want to take that?
Thank you, sir.
We're on item 7.
So this evening we have a consent agenda items 7.01 through 7.38 as amended. The following agenda items have been pulled for a separate vote: 7.02, 7.03, 7.04, 7.05, 7.09, 7.13, 7.15, 7.21, 7.26, 7.34, 7.38. Before we move, if there are not any objections, I would like to move. Trustee Mitchell, can do it since you? Well, I pulled, along with Trustee Mitchell, consent item 7.02. If there's not any objections, I would like to move it back to the consent agenda item.
No objection, Mr. President.
Okay, so item 7.02 is I'm sorry, 801 is moved back to the consent agenda item. And that's consider and take possible action to approve amendment to Board Policy AE Local Education Philosophy, second read, sponsored by Chief Lear, pulled by Trustees Mitch K. and Trustee Henrys. So do I have a motion on the consent agenda as amended?
Move to approve. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda as amended. Trustees, please cast your votes.
Do you want to vote on consent?
Okay. Okay. The motion passes 8-0.
Okay, we're going to go back in the agenda item, back to agenda item 6.02. It's consider and take possible action to approve the Environment and Climate Action Resolution for DISD Spring 2020. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt the Environment and Climate Action Resolution for DISD Spring 2020. Is there discussion?
I do.
I have Trustee Mackey, followed by Marshall.
So I want to say, first of all, I'm excited to be at this point. Every day, our roughly 20,000 employees get up and come to school and serve our nearly 153,000 kids, or just over. And they pour out their hearts and invest in these students to make sure that they are prepared, that when they graduate, that they have an excellent chance to go off and thrive in this world. We say that every time. That's our mission. That's our promise to families. That's our promise to these students, that they will thrive in this world. And that means it's also our parallel responsibility to give them a thriving world to thrive in. And so I'm excited that this resolution made it to this point. I first of all want to thank all the students and community members who came out here consistently to talk about this and raise this as an important point, because it is. I want to thank Dr. Hinojosa, your staff, Chief Lear, Chief Lane, everyone that I've talked to in administration about this has been on board with it, is excited about this, and working in partnership with this committee to identify meaningful ways to go forward that make sense for the district and our world. I also want to thank Trustees Marshall and Garcia, who were instrumental in this process, and I know met with numerous community members and had a lot of saying in that, and also the other trustees here that have been taking action on this, like Trustee Flores, who helped move some of the first stuff that we have around sustainability here in the district. So this resolution states that we are in a climate crisis, and that transcends partisan lines. We know that climate crises disproportionately affect young people who we serve, and also those who come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. And so this is critical both ethically, but also financially, and it's feasible. To look at these things over the long haul is a major benefit to the district. And I ask that we think about the words of our students here today, and I hope that all of our trustees here join me in supporting this resolution.
Trustee Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. I want to echo some of those sentiments, especially the appreciation to our students who have come and shared their thoughts with us on multiple occasions and been eloquent in doing so. I truly appreciate that student involvement. I also really want to give my appreciation and kudos to Trustee Mackey, especially being as new of a trustee as he is. This is a giant step forward, I think, for the district, and is a testament to his leadership that he was able to pull this together. I appreciate him including Trustees Garcia and I in the drafts and some of the edits, but he largely drove this process, and I think from what I can tell from previous board conversations, it looks to me as if this might be a unanimous passage of this resolution, which if those of you that are in the audience follow DISD board meetings, you know that doesn't happen very often. So I'll be proud to support this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the committee comes up with for next steps.
Thank you, Trustee Marshall. Trustee Mitchke, followed by Garcia.
Yes, I also want to extend my thanks to the students who have come out here several times urging us to take this action. I think this is an urgent issue, and I'm proud to support it. Thank you.
Trustee Garcia. Thank you, Trustee Mitchell.
If you look across history at big movements and revolutionary moments of our, not just American history, but across the world, you will often find that it was initiated by young people, a lot of high school students, a lot of college students, a lot of very courageous people who were fed up with the ways things were. One of the reasons that I, at the age of 22, ran for office and was elected on this board. And so I'm very proud to have high school students leading the charge on something that's so fundamentally important to not just this generation, but all of us. So thank you for that activism. Thank you to the administrators in this board for paying attention and listening. And it is with my great hope and intention that we're able to deliver on something as big as a climate action resolution for DISD. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Garcia. I'll be brief as well. I just want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues on the board. I do appreciate you including the idea that there's a racial equity aspect to this and how this disproportionately impacts some of our communities. I want to thank the students in particular for continually speaking on this for months at this point, I believe, and very articulate and very intentional, and always leaving with a demand. So I'm just kind of encouraging wherever you go, when you ask and you have these questions and concerns, you know, you should always have an ask and always have a demand. And when you do, smart, thoughtful people like Trustee Mackey and Marshall and Garcia and my colleagues on the board, occasionally we listen, and positive things happen. So I'll be glad to support this as well. Are there any comments or any more questions? Trustees, please cast your votes.
Trustee Foreman? The motion passes 8-0.
So we're about to begin the section of our meeting where we discuss items that have been pulled for a separate vote. Both items, 8.02 CH Local and 8.04 CV Local, were previously referred to a committee that it met a couple of times. In addition to the committee's recommendations, we've received multiple amendments for both policies. We have had discussions to try to simplify the packet that you received so that we can have minimal amendments, hopefully, as opposed to going through each one of these changes individually, which could take a large amount of time. And for item 8.05, we have two versions of the policy. Trustee Marshall originally presented a version of EHBAB Local back in December. The administration has presented an alternate version. Copies of the two versions are available for you. Once item 8.05 is properly before the board for discussion, we'll begin the discussion with the version that Trustee Marshall put forth. Following the discussion of Trustee Marshall's versions and any amendments, if there are, discussion will take place on the version put forth by the administration. Following the discussion, a vote on whether to adopt the administration's substitute motion will take place. The board votes to adopt the substitute motion will become the main motion, and the version put forth by Trustee Marshall will die. I will go over these rules again when we get to the agenda item. So we're starting with item 8.01. Trustees.
Point of order, Mr. President. I'm not sure if you want me to address this now or on 8.05, but the changing of the item on the agenda within 24 hours of the board meeting precludes the ability of a trustee to amend an amendment. So I object to that last-minute change.
So you prefer to use your language?
Well, I preferred what I started with, but then it was changed by the administration. So now I want my language to be an amendment, not a substitute option, as I proposed last night.
I agree. So when we get it to 8.05, you can address that. Item 8.1, trustees, we are now on items pulled for a separate vote, beginning with, well, we've moved that to the consent agenda items. Item 8.11 to approve a 3-year
renewal. To approve. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve it.
I'd move. I moved.
Yeah. Second. It has been moved and seconded to approve a 3-year renewal of the memorandum of understanding between Dallas ISD and the Dallas Education Foundation not to exceed $225,000 per year, and ratify DISD's previous expenditures and actions after January 24, 2020 to President in support of the DF, not previously approved by Board of Trustees, not to exceed $20,000. Is there discussion?
Call the question.
Please cast your votes.
Ms. Foreman, are you going to vote no? Vote no? Oh, okay. The motion passes 7-0.
It is now 12:55 a.m. and this meeting is adjourned.